After carefree teenager Jay sleeps with her new boyfriend Hugh for the first time, she learns that she is the latest recipient of a fatal curse that is passed from victim to victim via sexual intercourse. Death, Jay learns, will creep inexorably towards her as either a friend or a stranger. Jay's friends don't believe her seemingly paranoid ravings until they too begin to see the phantom assassins and band together to help her flee or defend herself. Welcome back to another installment of Midnight Double Feature, and on this episode we're going to be covering 2014's It Follows, written and directed by David Robert Mitchell. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another installment of Midnight Double Feature. Zoheb, how you doing tonight, bud? Or this morning, whatever the fuck it is.
It's afternoon. It's 1:30. Fucking our daylight savings thing happened, so I'm like way ahead of you now. I can see the future, bitch. No. I'm good, dude. I'm fucking good. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Been a nice kind of lazy Saturday for me.
Yeah, it's been a hiatus for us, isn't it?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was. Well, because we were. There was so much going on last weekend with you graduating, motherfucker.
Thank you.
But yeah, last weekend there was kind of a lot of stuff going on with all of us. I was working some overtime. I think Danny and Matt had some things going on, and we just dropped a lot of new content. So it's nice to just kind of take a week off. We just kind of dumped a lot of stuff at once with the Camana interview and the Collateral, and then all the new artwork and everything. So we figured, take a week off, not dump everything on you guys at once. And it worked out perfectly, too, because this is the first installment of what we've lovingly entitled our Midnight Spooky Feature. It's going to be the first of 4 installments this month of horror-related movies. We've got a few picks. I mean, this is mine. This is It Follows. I think, what, you picked...
I don't really want to reveal them yet. just in case someone changes their mind, because all 4 of us picked them. We all picked a choice, and this is obviously yours. Mine, I for sure know that we're going to cover my one. So I'm happy to reveal that we're covering Get Out next. Jordan Peele's Get Out. Fucking stoked for that. But the other two, I mean, it's all subject to change, obviously. So, yeah, man, I'm really fucking excited. I know this is your favorite fucking month of the year.
Oh god, yeah. This is when I am in this is when I'm in my pure Zen mode.
So I was just like, you know what? It's fucking October. We have a Halloween movie coming out this month, an actual fucking Halloween movie. Let's just fucking go for broke and just do all of our feature presentations, either thriller or horror movies. Let's just fucking do it.
Yeah.
And dude, you fucking picked It Follows.
Yeah, right. It's also not a genre that we tackle a whole lot. Really, we've only done we've done The Void, and I mean, if you want to call Shaun of the Dead, which it's pretty gruesome, but it's not really a horror movie.
No, it has a few elements.
Right, yeah, totally. It's like Shaun of the Dead. It's a comedy with horror. Whereas you look at something like American Werewolf in London, that's a horror with comedy. That's a good kind of balance between those two, I think. But yeah, I picked this movie. I mean, if anybody who's listening to this, and especially you, everybody knows, I'm a fan of a lot of older movies. I grew up watching a lot of older stuff. I was very close to picking John Carpenter's 1982, amazing movie, The Thing. I was so fucking close to picking that. I think that is a perfect movie. I think that the time that came out, that was so underrated. And now it's slowly finding its place in horror and stuff like that, which I think is just fucking fantastic. I came so close to picking that.
I love that movie, dude.
It's so good, man. But there were a bunch of them. I mean, In the Mouth of Madness by John Carpenter, so much Stephen King that I could have picked. There's so much stuff. So honestly, I surprised myself when I picked this. But it's kind of just in an attempt to not always. I just, so many of those movies are, it's like a gold mine of like of a lot of nostalgia and stuff for me like that. So I can only, you only have so many of those that you can do, and I don't want to do The Thing right now. That's why I've been holding off on like a bunch of movies that I've always wanted to do.
I think we both have, right? Like subconsciously, we both have been like holding off on these like massive movies that kind of like mean a lot to us, just because, I mean, for me, it's a confidence thing. For me, it's like we just kind of like, I know we're like nearly 50 episodes in, but I feel like we just started podcasting. Like I want to get some more time under the belt before we like cover something like fucking Star Wars for number one. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right. Or like Blade Runner. Blade Runner is like a big. That's going to be a big deal for me when we do that. So I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do it,
consider this a taser. Consider this a taser, audience.
Yeah. Right. But really, I've just been. This is honestly the most recent horror movie that I've seen that I was just, except for The Void, that I was just like blown away by. I think that horror is a tough genre, especially going forward. There's a lot of movies that, romantic comedies and even like superhero films. We kind of know how they're going to play out, and we're not disappointed when in the romantic comedy, the couple ends up getting together, and in the superhero movie, he stops the bad guy and saves the city and blah blah blah. Like, we're used to that, but with horror, I feel like horror is held under a lot more scrutiny, like for originality. There has to be so much more originality in horror, and I can't tell you why. I don't know if it's just because we take the things that scare us more seriously. There's a lot of like there's just a lot of scrutiny to me in the horror genre as it goes on too, because we can make the same movies that we've been making. We've got the Killer in the Woods or the slasher film or whatever, but I mean, when you've now horror, I feel like, is at like kind of like a peak. It's starting to hit really, really, really well, to the point that I think there's something interesting about these newer TV shows and movies that are coming out that are horror related, because we're almost not scared anymore by a lot of stuff. I mean, we're desensitized to so much, but it's not even scary anymore. It's fucking awesome. Like when you watch something like this, or even like a American Horror Story, there's like so much stuff that's just been integrated into television and movies that we're not even scared by the stuff anymore. We just think it's fucking cool. It's the same thing with Stranger Things and Stephen King's It. But I just was so, I'm just going to go straight into my opening impressions here. I was just so struck by this movie's simplicity and originality. Even when I see stuff now, like when I saw A Quiet Place, I was like, okay, A Quiet Place, it kind of reminds me of Tremors, just the things that can only hear you and you have to stay quiet. And it was totally different from that movie. I'm not saying it's a ripoff or anything like that, but it's hard to find a movie that doesn't remind you of something else. But this movie does not remind me of anything. I mean, it does in certain aspects, but not in the plot or the rules of the entity of It Follows or whatever. Nothing about it really reminds me of anything else. And I thought that the whole idea for this is, the simplicity of it is just amazing. I mean, how many times have, you've heard footsteps behind you, or, thought that somebody was following you, and your oh shit meter just goes to like 6 or 7. And I think they tap into such just a really kind of like primal fear that a lot of us human beings have, just people, of someone being behind you, of someone standing behind you, of someone following you, and especially walking right towards you. Like, I have a problem with people staring at me. I fucking really do. Like, I've said things to people before, like, hey, what are you looking at? Like, I don't like people fucking staring at me. So to have somebody just dead-eyed staring at you and just walking and walking and walking like that's terrifying. Yeah, that's it. And it's almost like the fact that we don't really see in this movie, we see it a couple of times what this thing can do if it catches you, but it doesn't show us a whole lot. So I think it kind of leaves it to your imagination, what this thing actually does to you when it gets a hold of you. There's only really a couple of like gory scenes in this. That's not really like a gore fest at all. So it kind of leaves it up to your imagination for what you think that this thing does. But I fucking love this movie. I was just really surprised. I heard so many good things when it came out. I just immediately went and bought it. I've never regretted that. But this is really the first time that I've watched it, I think, since like 2014 or 2015 when I got it. But it just seemed like such a great pick, especially with the picks that we have right now. If they say that way, I assume that they do, but I don't know. But everything that we picked were kind of more recent movies, and I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. I like that. I like to not be the guy who's like, oh, you guys want to see a good scary movie? Like, you gotta look like
Flatliners.
Right, get off my lawn. Like I don't want to be that guy
over here.
Yeah, right, exactly. But yeah, I like this movie. There's not a lot of bad things for me to say about it, honestly. There's one or two things, but I mean, that's anything. That's really any movie. I was just really surprised and taken back by this, and I'm really happy that I made this my pick. It's kind of like something else took over me and picked this, and I was like, I'm kind of surprised that I picked that, but ultimately I don't regret it at all. But tell me, what do you think about this? We've never talked about this movie before at all, and I've always wondered kind of what you were thinking about it. But I mean, do you like it? Do you hate it? Well, what's up?
Dude, you're totally on point with saying we haven't even like discussed this movie at all. Like, this is like so far off our kind of like radar. Like, even like before like jumping on the mics here, we didn't even really talk about it. We're just like, let's fucking do this.
Mm-hmm.
I like this movie.
Go on.
I like it. No, look, I definitely like it. I'm not in love with it, although I do want to love it. Like, there are so many things about this movie that I really, really want to love, but sometimes it might just be because it's an indie flick that like it doesn't really get fleshed out enough.
Mm-hmm.
But there are quite a lot of things to like about this movie, man. Like, let me just, before we actually talk about this movie, I want to touch on what you said about horror as a genre. And like, I think it's a good sort of thing to mention on this episode in particular, seeing as we're going to cover a whole month's worth of like horror movies. So it's pretty good to kind of like chat about the genre just quickly. You're 100% correct, man. You took the words exactly like right out of my mouth. Like when you said a horror as a genre, it's under more scrutiny than the action genre or the superhero genre, which is now a genre unto itself. It's 100% a more difficult genre for me. I'm definitely not as well versed in horror as you are, or Matt probably is. I think it's very easy to fuck up horror, and I think that's why. It's very tough to make a very impactful horror movie, because look, we've said it on the podcast before, and it's a general fucking thing. The film is totally subjective, and I think in terms of horror, the only thing that you can really compare it to is comedies, because comedies are so subjective. Like, everyone has a different sort of taste in comedy. Like, you can like black comedy, you can like slapstick. If you like slapstick, just unfriend me right now, because that's the worst type of fucking the worst type of fucking comedy for me. But anyway, whereas horror is totally different. Like, you can be into gore like Saw, or you can be into psychological horror movies like this, or you can be into something totally different like Get Out. Like, Get Out is I'll talk about it next week, but Get Out is a totally different type of horror movie. But there are like these different sort of elements of a horror movie, and I think the genre is under a lot of scrutiny because there are just so many different types of ways to do it, and not all of it appeals to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, this movie is fucking great. It's just you fucking idiot. You hit it on the fucking head. Everything I wanted to say, you're just like.
Well, I mean, because it's something that obviously, like you said, the horror genre. I grew up like just steeped in that stuff, and it's like it's always got a special place in my heart. I can't tell you how many times Lindsay and I are watching a movie, and she goes, "Can we watch something happy now? Like, can we watch something that's not can we not watch In the Mouth of Madness for like the 5th time?" And I'm like, "No."
I've never seen that.
Oh, so good, man. It's really good.
I know.
That's
See, that's what I'm saying, man. Like my horror game is weak. I mean, I've seen horrors, and it's not because I'm scared. It's more like I'm pretty apprehensive to approach a horror movie because they're not usually entertaining to watch, and that's not a bad thing. Like it's just that they're designed to instill a certain sort of feeling in you, and a lot of the time when I sit down and watch a movie, I'm not like, oh, I'm not really feeling this. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not really wanting to feel this way. So, I don't know.
I got you. I also want to apologize in advance. I've had some allergies issues today. A lot of cleaning today. A lot of pet dander. A lot of dust. So you're gonna occasionally hear the
sick fucking bastard.
Oh god!
But when you said, this totally hits on the primal fear of like just being followed by something that will stop at nothing to reach you, something that is eventually going to keep up with you and catch you. Catch you. Yeah. If you take a few seconds to like, okay, I went out for a walk this morning. I usually do a walk on the weekends and things like that. And just if I take a break, I'm like, I don't know, like I'm not like, oh, I'm a big followed. It's just more like I totally get what this movie is like positing. Like it's I don't know. Like there's another thing, because this movie, it's tough to kind of like get a handle on what it's about, because obviously it's an analogy.
Right.
It's I mean, from everything that I've read, it's sexually transmitted diseases, which totally makes sense. But that's another thing. I'm not sure if I buy that completely, because like I'd also like it to be an allegory for, let's say, depression. Depression follows you wherever you go. It's a dark cloud. I'd like it to be that as well. Like, I don't want it to be like 100% sexually transmitted diseases.
Right, yeah, because it's something. I mean, it's obvious, and that's not something that all of us can relate to as well. You know, it's. I mean, quite a few people, millions. You know, but at the same time, I like what you're saying there with it being depression, because it's something that even if you're not medically or clinically diagnosed with that, you've gone through bouts of it and you understand that. Like, you can relate to that. I like that.
That's right. And that's why I'd rather it not just be sexually transmitted diseases. And look, I've read from an interview with the director, and I think he did, like, he's been a bit vague on it, but I think he's leaning towards sexually transmitted diseases, which is fine. I mean, like, if that's your vision, then that's your vision. But I mean, like, the way that I kind of want to interpret it is if it's kind of both, or if it's more than both.
Sure, yeah.
But here's another thing, man. The way this movie is actually made, like, if we move away from the themes and the concept is outstanding, by the way. I forgot to fucking mention that. Like, it's just so unique. Actually, I was thinking, because it's not really that unique. If you think about it, It Follows is basically... the creature could be Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees, except that because, like, those two will catch up with you eventually, except this creature doesn't, like, wield a knife or anything like that. Like, those two, like Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers, they will catch you and they will relentlessly do anything to fucking reach you. And that's similar to what we have with this creature. I thought that was just funny, like, just a really kind of different way of showing a creature, or showing, like, a killer. It was just really interesting. But
well, let's just say it's like the ultimate game of tag.
It's
like, I'll stay the fuck away from you, crazy bitch.
Tag, you're it.
Because I think that, well, going to what it's about, I mean, there's a couple of things that I jotted down. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, there's obviously the STDs. I mean, just death. in general. I mean, just
100%.
I mean, it's something inevitable and relatable, and everyone's going to experience it someday.
Right.
But then there's also, in horror, sex equals death. You bang, you die. Like, I mean, it's synonymous. So this is just kind of like, it's not like, oh, we had sex and we didn't keep an eye on little Jason Voorhees and now he's come back to kill us all. It's like, no, just the act of having sex. You did nothing wrong. And
it's a death sentence.
Right. Yeah. It's just a death sentence. I mean, there's also the death of like childhood. I mean, really, if you think about it, the first
innocence,
time,
right?
Yeah. Exactly. The first time you have sex is kind of, there's bar mitzvahs and there's things like, there's traditions that we have that mark our entrances into, adulthood, getting your driver's license, turning 18, things like that. But really one of the first physical things is puberty and then sex. So this thing kind of follows right behind it with the fact that, it's kind of like trading in your childhood for that, when you traded that and the childhood imagery in this is just, I mean, it's so heavy. There's always kids playing with balls, there's and try not to say that. I know you're laughing over there. I fucking know you're laughing. There's always kids around the neighborhood, when there's a scene there's a scene where Jay's run and she runs to a playground. There's so much stuff that's childlike imagery in this, and I think that's a big part of it as well. Of kind of trading in your kid card and getting it torn up, and this thing kind of equals like death in that way. And I think also, not to jump the gun, but when we're talking about Hugh, and Hugh picks the little boy, and he's like, yeah, look at that kid. He's got his whole life ahead of him. He's so carefree.
Literally what I was about to tell you. Yeah.
Right. So there's quite a bit of stuff for like the whole childhood thing. Either way, I mean, it's kind of whatever your interpretation is of it. There's just so many. That's what's great is it's so simple and it's so widespread. You can pick anything that you want.
It's a very compact movie, but there's so many different ways that you can like take it and approach it. I really appreciated that this time around, because I watched this kind of back when it came out, and I didn't really take to it. I was like, oh yeah, this is okay, but this time around, man, I was a bit like, whoa, okay, this is a lot heavier than I remembered. But there is like some technical stuff that I do want to mention, man. Like the way this film is shot, there are so many sort of like wide angle lenses that are being used. God. And dude, it adds so much, because that there's an entity that's following this girl, and you're watching the background every fucking time. You're trying to see if there's going to be something that's going to come out from the brush or something, you know what I mean? Like, so they intentionally shoot these wide angle lenses just so the audience kind of has this vision of like the whole fucking thing, and basically you're kind of like scanning the entire background. Well, I was anyway. You're scanning the entire background as the character's talking in the foreground, and you're just like, where is it? Where is it?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, literally, this is really cool.
Literally, our first shot is like a 360 degree one-shot take. Like, I mean, because they're telling us, you better keep your fucking head on a swivel. Because, I mean, if you don't, like, that's it. Like, you're it. There's so much, and so many zoom-ins from far away. And I think it gives such a great feeling. Not that of like voyeurism, like, not that voyeurism is great, but it does a great job at making us feel that. Like, we're always watching these people from the outside in, that we're not quite a part of like a circle, really. There's not a whole lot of shots where it's where it's typical dialogue where we're cutting back and forth, just left to right on people. But when they do, either the shots are really close up on the face, and it's almost like such a violation of that, personal bubble, like, kind of space, or from so far away, because it almost feels like you're in the ocean with a shark, and the shark can be anywhere, and it's this huge open space, and it can come and get you anytime, any place, anywhere. And I think that's the most terrifying part, is they open up these huge shots to let you know, like, ooh, where is it?
Where
like,
the
what's
fuck
it gonna
could
be?
It be? Yeah, man.
Dude, it's fucking terrifying.
It's awesome, man. Before we dive into the movie, I do have one more thing. We had a lot of comments about this movie, and I'm really glad that our fucking community reached out and let us know what they thought of this movie. It's divisive. There are some comments that are in the negative, and there are a lot of comments that are in the positive, but we'll get to those towards the end. But I do want to take this time to plug our socials because we're whores. But yeah, those comments, they were posted on the After Party, which is kind of like our sort of meme/news page where we post all of our news and things like that. Basically, about pretty much what you find in the upcoming attractions, and what's new in fucking Tinseltown and shit, but not like tabloid shit, just more like, oh, this is happening in fucking Hollywood, like Star Wars is being in production and shit like that. I don't know. So that's the After Party, and that's basically where we get our discussions going. Midnight Double Feature is also on Facebook, so that's our main page. That's the one where we like post all of our previews and all of that, like the announcement episode. The episodes that announce that a new podcast is out. Those are all posted to the main page. That's Midnight Double Feature on Facebook. We're also on Instagram. That's at Midnight Double Feature. We're also on Twitter. That's at MDF Pod. And you can find us on YouTube. So you can find us everywhere, actually. So yeah. But yeah, we'll read out those comments towards the end of the podcast. And thanks to everyone who commented. We really appreciate it.
Hell yeah, dude. Couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah, with that being said, you just want to dive in? You want to go at it?
Let's fucking get into this bitch, man.
Awesome. Yeah, our opening shot here could not be more reminiscent of John Carpenter's Halloween if there was a dude in the background with a fucking hockey mask, like a big white mask on. And he even came out, Mitchell even came out and said that John Carpenter and, there's several movies that inspired this a lot. I know Nightmare on Elm Street rings a bell. Obviously, John Carpenter's Halloween, a lot of stuff, because this movie, they do a great job. The writer-director... George Romero, thank you. Mitchell does a great job of keeping the time obscured, that we don't know what decade this is. Now, we know that this is probably early 2010s or somewhere around there. We see the cars, we see some technology. We hardly see any cell phones. We see a lot of older cars. We see a lot of older clothes. And those kind of things kind of keep us guessing. So it's nice because we know... we know that about how far the years of this movie takes place, but it doesn't even matter. We don't really care.
No, it doesn't.
Because it's not like, oh my God, I've got a cell phone, let me call the cops. Who gives a fuck? The technology, go ahead and put the technology in there. Who cares? It's not going to save you. It's not going to do anything. But
that's another thing. Like the themes of the movie, like whether it's about sexually transmitted diseases or whether it's about depression, they don't exist in one time frame. Like they're continuously ongoing.
Right, yeah. It just kind of transcends generations. But
unfortunately.
Yeah, right. But yeah, this is where we get, I believe this girl's name is Annie. I think that's her name.
Oh, I didn't catch her name.
I think this is Annie.
What I like about this opening, man, like it kind of like sets the tone, and it also tells you what the kind of quote creature is capable of, like straight away. And that's like, because throughout the rest of the movie, I don't think the rest of the movie is as violent as it is here. I know I'm kind of like jumping ahead to the end of this opening.
No, I totally agree with that though. Yeah.
Like it just gives you a whole sort of like, okay, so this is what's at stake, guys.
right. Yeah, it's kind of it's like when we when we're seeing a Western and we see people killed right at the beginning of the movie, it's like, oh, okay, cool, these are the bad guys, these are what they're willing to do, this is what we're gonna have to do. Like we're seeing exactly what this thing is capable of, which I really like. But this girl, I do believe her name is Annie. She's being chased around this neighborhood. At first, you're just, and this is great. This is where things ask a lot of questions, or make you ask a lot of questions, and then they actually have fucking answers for them. And that's what I love. I think this movie does such a great job of answering a lot of questions, and then not answering the origin of this thing, let's trace it back all the way to see who got it, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't need to see all that. This does a great job of, we know exactly as much as we need to know.
Right. Ambiguity.
Exactly. But yeah, Annie just, basically running around in circles in her neighborhood, drives off to the beach, parks her car there. Parents are freaking out calling her, and she's just telling her parents how much I love them. Sorry if I treat you like shit. Hard cut, boom, her leg looks like a fucking pretzel. I was like, holy shit.
The hard cut is so fucking great, man, because like you're also hit with that bass. It's like boom, and then it's like shit.
God, yeah. And dude, I mean, props to your girl. She can run in some fucking heels, man. Like, I was surprised. It's like, I mean, I
fucking Jurassic World shit.
Yeah, I can only relate to that from my own personal experiences, but but yeah,
as a crossdresser.
Yeah, right. And I fucking loved the shot of her. We because we still can't see it. We haven't been exposed to it. But the shot of her just looking at the car and those red tail lights lighting up everything. It's so well lit, and we still can't see anything. I think that's so fucking great. But, and boom, right away, we're 4 minutes and 36 seconds in, and we have the most violent death of the movie. We have so many questions, where it's like, what the fuck was that? And blah, blah, blah. But after, we see the scene with Annie, this is where we're introduced to Jay, who's played by Maika Monroe, I believe is her name.
Don't you think she looks like a younger Brie Larson?
Dude, god damn it, you fucking... I had a whole bit about this, and now I gotta...
Did you?
Let me just crumble off all these papers. No, I was gonna... I was just gonna call her, like not Brie Larson for the whole rest of the movie. Because, I mean...
She totally resembles it, dude.
Right, yeah. Well, one of the things is that, this Brie Larson, obviously was Captain Marvel. She did a TV show with actually Toni Collette called The United States of Terra. Fucking awesome TV show.
I heard.
But she actually did that show with, I think, I'm going to probably butcher this guy's name, Keir Gilchrist, who plays Paul in this movie. He's actually in United States of Terra. And I was like, oh, cool. These guys reunited for this movie. And I was like, that's not Brie Larson. I was like, it looks like Hillary Duff had sex with Brie Larson. I was like, I can't.
I'll be down for that.
Yeah, I was like, well, I've seen worse things. But yeah, we get a lot of stuff set up right here. We see that, I love the shot. We see Paul knocking on the front door, and we just kind of push back to the pool. And again, a very like voyeuristic kind of shot, like she's getting in the pool, and we're just slowly zooming in. Some great stuff here, like right at the top. But we're also introduced to. This where we're also introduced to Jay's sister, who I believe is oh god, there's like 15 different names in this, which is actually
yeah, the names can be just interchangeable. Besides, like as long as we kind of really know the main sort of
right.
I do have an issue that I wanted to bring up. And I think this is the weakest part of the movie. I'm not invested in the characters. Mm-hmm. Like at all. Like I don't like the way it might be the acting. It might be intentional. It might be like a throwback to like 80s sort of like dumb teenagers just doing like shitty shit and not being genuine. Like I don't know. I'm not interested in the characters, even Jay, and that's a problem for me. Like if I'm not interested in your main character, then I don't really care about whether the monster's going to catch up to her, and I don't know what it is. I can't really emphasize it. I can't really enunciate it. I don't really know what part of it I don't like. It's just I don't like the interplay. I don't like some of the stuff they say some of the time. I don't like their actions. Like I don't know.
No, I get it, because we don't know anything about these people. It's kind of hard to relate to Jay, because there's really only one scene where we get what are her motivations besides staying alive. I guess I mean that's pretty important. It's kind of hard for us to know or feel anything else other than the fact that here's this I don't know, here's a pretty blonde white girl. Is that where we're supposed to just like her like right away? I don't know. But I mean we're basically sometimes I wonder if that's such a negative, though, because it's kind of like Master Chief in Halo. Like we know so little about him and don't even see his face, but it allows us to live through him in the game more. I don't know if it's one of those things. Yeah, but he's a badass. Yeah, that's true.
See, for me, it's less about who she is. It's more about the interaction with these friends. It doesn't feel like they've been friends for a while. Like it feels like they're they're strangers in some sort of way. I know that, you know, that they probably have been friends for a while, but it just feels like a new friendship, and I don't really buy that they've been friends for a while. I don't know.
It feels like friends by proximity. It feels like people who just live close by you. Which, I mean, I've had friends like this before. We literally just sit around and don't say anything. You know, we're just hanging out and watching a movie, or, you know, it's like those friends that you can be around and you don't have to say anything. You know, you can just hang out and, like, you know, watch TV.
It's a good point.
Right. But at the same time, I totally do see what you mean, though, because it is kind of hard to relate to these characters a lot. And it's hard to, you know, maybe it's just I'd say they're all kind of boring at some point.
Right. Right.
You know, I know between, you know, we've got 4 friends here. I know between you, me, Matt, and Danny, I mean, our conversations are lively and like, oh, blah, blah, you know, and doing.
Well, I'm bored of you already.
Fucker. Yeah, you know, we have like I have friends like this, and we've had moments where it's just like quiet and stuff like that, but these guys just seem bored out of their minds. And I guess I get it. You know, you're just hanging out just to kill time, just to kill some, you know, to kill some boredom. But yeah, I see what you mean, though. I mean, I don't know if it's so much the writing or if it's the performances. I guess it's kind of both, because there's not a whole lot of dialogue between all of them. And when it is, it's just kind of like a bunch of guys who are in a tavern who have known each other for like years. They just kind of sit there and next to each other, but don't really say anything.
It doesn't really break the movie for me, but it does. It is a bit distracting sometimes, especially Paul, especially your, like, who you mentioned earlier, Keir Gilchrist, right? That's his name,
Mm-hmm.
Keir. He's just boring to me, man. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, and I mean, and just kind of the positions that he puts himself in this movie. You know, I'm not really sure if he's actually trying to take the moral high ground and do the right thing, or if this is just kind of, he's like, not only do I get to be, you know, a knight in shining armor, but I get laid too, you know, like kind of like that thing.
Yeah, like I don't know his motivations.
Right, I'm kind of on the fence about him. But either way, you know, this is kind of where we're introduced to everyone. Yara is the girl with the glasses reading the little clamshell thing, just to get some names straight. Kelly is actually her sister. Like I said, we're also introduced to Jay and Paul, who, you know, played by Gilchrist. One thing I love, though, is the parents. We don't ever see any of the parents, hardly. We hear them talking. We see half shots of their face or things that are obscured, but this is something that obviously is, you know, comes over from a lot of 80s horror of things, not being able to go to parents, not being able to do things like that. But this goes even like so far beyond that. It's not like, oh, I have to go outside the law and find, you know, old lady Witcham that lives outside of town and get the mystical spell and blah, blah, blah. Like, there's nobody to talk to about this. There's not like a book to, you know, like Jack Nicholson and Wolf. There's not just some dude you can go and talk to about this and he can tell you about all this stuff. There's maybe 1 or 2 scenes of that in this, but even Mitchell has said that basically the things that he's got rules, but those rules are also limited as well. You know, there's things that they do that are incorrect that they think will work and they don't work. And there's also things that they just don't know about this thing yet. And that's what's great, is that we're not trying to pin down this thing's origin story. So it gives us so much free room to fuck around with. And I think that's great. But one thing that we can't go past this either is the soundtrack. The soundtrack to this is a character and a body within itself.
It's fucking great.
Yeah. I think this whole thing really rings back to, the first thing it honestly reminds me of is Blade Runner, honestly. It sounds like some Vangelis stuff. In the earlier moments, later on, not so much. But the guy who did this is an artist called Disasterpiece. But he actually never did a film before this, I don't think. He wrote video game music, and he made some game that Mitchell was like a fan of, and just was like, no, I want you to do the music. Like, I've played your games. It's awesome. I'm like, holy shit.
A video game called Fez?
Fez. See, I was going to say Zen. I couldn't fucking remember the name of it. But
apparently it was completed in less than 3 weeks.
Yeah, which is fucking crazy. I also read that the script was written in like 2.5 weeks. The first draft of this thing
Wow.
was written in like 2.5 weeks. I mean, I guess it makes sense. Do you want to take a crack at what the fucking budget was for this thing?
Fucking probably about $1 million.
Yeah, like about 1.5 to 2. Do you know if this thing made back?
Well, it didn't come out. I don't remember if it came out in cinemas here, but because it's on Netflix. But I'm gonna say it was a juggernaut. I'm gonna say it was big. I couldn't give you a number though.
Nah, it was like 20, which is good, which is great.
Dude,
I mean, it's fucking 10 times the budget, but
yeah.
Well, apparently it was so successful they were just kind of going to, I guess, a straight to video kind of thing. I think VOD, and then it was just so successful they're like, no, we need to put this in theaters like now. Like it got such a good wave of success.
That's awesome.
Like, wow, that's fucking really cool. But this soundtrack by Disasterpiece, you can find this anywhere, Spotify, YouTube. But it's really just the shots right here of Jay where she's getting ready for this date with Hugh, and we see her upstairs. I like, this is one of my favorite shots of the whole movie. Just her in the dress and the whiteness of the bed, and everything feels just so. This movie is so dreamlike. I can't tell. Like, I mean, I just feel like I'm dreaming all the time. Like,
well, that's another thing that the director said, that he didn't really want to sort of pin down a specific time frame, like whether it took place in the 60s, 80s, like now. He wanted to feel dreamlike.
Right.
And this is actually based on a dream that he had.
Totally.
The person walking toward him, like, that's a nightmare that he had, and he's like, oh shit, that's actually fucking terrifying. Let me put this in a movie.
Yeah, right, dude. I mean, wow. I guess art imitates life. But I've got a little bit of the soundtrack here I'm going to play for you. This track's called Jay, and this is from the It Follows soundtrack.
Badass. That's fucking awesome, dude. I dig it.
Lovely. Love that shit, man. That is so good.
Good shit, man. Like, it's so, like you said, dreamlike. It goes totally like with the themes and with what we're seeing, like the visuals. It's fantastic.
Right, yeah. But either way, moving on, we got to kick this thing in the ass. This is where we see Jay. She's getting ready for her date, going out with Hugh, who we later find out his actually name is Jeff, but he's played by Jake Weary. This is where they go to the movies. They stand in line. This theater, do you know what it is famous for?
Shit. Does it feature in a movie?
No, I'm just gonna lay it out there. It was actually.
You know what? I actually saw it, like something premiered there, something big. I forgot what it was.
Yeah, you piece of shit! It's a fucking Evil Dead, 1981, man.
Oh, of course, Sam Raimi.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Okay.
But I mean, this, and that's another thing. This theater seems so old. Everything about this, the organ player. I mean, that's something we saw in Zodiac.
Classic.
And I was like, what the fuck? This feels so old.
Dude,
but
I've been to the movie so many fucking times, and I've only once been to a cinema where they've actually done that.
Right? Yeah. No, I've never seen that in my fucking life. I
was like, who the fuck is this guy? Can we just watch the movie?
Yeah, right. It's like, I don't need Phantom of the Opera over here and fucking playing this shit behind me. But this is basically the trading game that she sets up. It's a game where you're in a crowded place. I love that. She's like, oh, it's a game you play when you're bored. He's like, you're bored? Like, I love that. That's great dialogue, dude. Just right back at her. I fucking love that. But basically, you pick someone in the crowd. The other person who's with you gets two guesses to figure out who you are. And this is where Hugh actually picks the young boy as with his parents, and he says,
"I thought that was touching."
Yeah, for sure. And at first she says, "What, the dad?" And he's like, "No, the kid. The kid's got his whole life ahead of him." He's like, right. I was like, "Wow, that's fucking great." And it's a good point too. It's not something that you would expect like right away. Because it just hits you right away. It's like, oh wow, it's kind of telling us what this movie's about.
Yeah, and like exactly what you just said, man. Like that's one of the concepts of the movie. Like death is it's you can't stop it. It's gonna come. As sad as it is, like it's inevitable. And like when you've got that kind of like mindset, wouldn't you also want to go back to being a kid? Like,
oh fuck yeah, dude!
It's great, man. I want to go back to being a kid right now. Like,
oh god, yeah. By
the way, this guy's not 21. I'm sorry.
No, fuck that, dude. They was like, oh, I'm 21. I'm like, dude, this guy looks like fucking Britney Spears' ex-husband, K-Fed. Like, dude, you want to fucking tell me you're 21? Like, you could be, like, dude, come the fuck on, man.
This is, again, I don't know what's intentional and what's not, because, like, I mean, back in the 80s, like, when they had horror movie, like, teenagers, like, they were not fucking teenagers.
Right, yeah, exactly. I mean, hell, even now. I mean, it's like we have fucking 28-year-olds playing, 16-year-olds all the time. But yeah, this is where things kind of start to get a little bit crazy.
I love this, man. I love. Okay, I want to be that girl in the yellow dress, and she's just like, I don't see her, and then you just kind of get that shot of like nothing in the frame, and I was like, ooh, this is creepy.
Right? Yeah, we're seeing this again now. This open frame, nothing's going on.
Because another thing this movie does really well is tension, and we didn't really talk about that because tension. Like I love the way some horror movies build tension. Like A Quiet Place builds tension in a different way, where it cuts out all sort of audio. Whereas this is like you don't really know where things are. It's fantastic.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, you ever been in a room while a couple's arguing? Like that's fucking tension, man. Like, I mean, it's like, oh shit, I'm gonna get the fuck out of here.
I have a rolling joke with my friend, man. Like every time, like, because once we got stuck in the back seat of a car, like while they were driving, and they're like the couples in the front two seats, and they're like, me and my mate are just kind of in the back, just fucking laughing. We try to keep silent. We're like, this is fucking hilarious,
man. I would. Oh god, it's so cringy.
It's brutal. It's brutal.
But yeah, this is where Hugh kind of freaks out. He says, you don't see the girl in the yellow dress, blah, blah, blah. And just, can we get out of here? I don't feel good. They head back to the car. If I had a nickel for every time this movie framed everything just flat on and with the people dead in the middle. Like, I mean, oh my God, like the shot literally, as I'm watching it right now, of them moving and, leaving the theater, they're both dead in the middle of the shot as we're pulling back. And then later on, literally in the next scene where we see Jay talking to her sister, it's the exact same thing. They're just walking towards us and we're framed right on them, just flat into the both of them in the middle. And it's great. I mean, and it works well because it's just kind of, there's almost this kind of Kubrick feel to this whole movie of just these huge, wide, flat shots. Shit. Yes, dude. I mean, it feels so just like, what are you trying to show me? And why do I feel so weird looking at this? Like, what is it about this? But yeah, this one thing I don't understand. I don't get this. They go on the date, whatever, they go out and they eat Mexican food, I think, and you see the guy in the background kind of walking. We don't know if he's, it or whatever. But then we get the scene with her sister, and then we're back out on another date with him. Why do we need this scene? Why don't we just merge the two of them?
I thought the same thing. I was just like, it could be like a thing to extend the runtime of the movie or some shit. I don't know, because like, I mean, this movie's only an hour and 40. Like, right.
It could be just to establish Greg, the guy that lives next door with the station wagon, because they waved to him. Either way, I was just like, this is so odd, because it's so odd to shoot a scene in one place, leave that place, and then immediately come right back. I was like, what the fuck? This is so odd. But
it couldn't have been chronological. Like, I'm sure this is a scene they did like probably a bit later.
Right. But yeah, basically we see old Hugh going out with Jay with a pack of six pack with a six pack, and
yeah, that's how you do it, man.
Yeah, right. This guy's all, hey baby, you want to bang this chin this chin strap beard I got and fuck in the back of this car with a six pack of PBR.
He's so. It's all class. It's all class, man. Like this is like a Bond move.
Oh, dude, yeah. I will say he has a sweet leather jacket, though. I do fucking like that leather jacket that he's got on.
One of my favorite shots in the movie, and it's also the poster shot of the car, and like it's just this kind of side-on view as they're making out.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. I mean, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You know, we've got the shots of coming in from the side, like we're always from the outside coming in. Hey, maybe don't fuck a guy next to an abandoned hospital in a cemetery.
Yeah,
I'm just fucking saying.
Fuck is this?
What the fuck?
Where are you?
What and where the fuck are you? Like
yeah, what? Okay, so you're in the passenger seat while this guy drives to an abandoned fucking hospital, and he stops the car, pulls up the handbrake. Hey, want to get in the back? Like, what? Like, that's basically like you're asking to be chloroformed at this point,
dude. I mean, and it's just. I couldn't imagine. I mean, I've had to go, when you're a teenager and you sneak out of the house, you kind of have to go just to wherever's open, wherever's available, or whatever. Oh, here's a nice quiet place we can go and, finger fuck around or whatever. But I've never gone anywhere. Oh, hey, it almost sounds like a really bad horror movie. Like, hey, I know where we should run. We should run in between that cemetery and the abandoned hospital. Like, nothing good ever happened in abandoned hospitals.
But this is bringing me back to my other point. I'm not sure if this is intentional. Like, I'm not sure if it's like poking fun at like old horror movies. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of got that tongue-in-cheek sort of stuff. Like, yeah. I don't know.
I get you. It's really weird.
It is.
But yeah, this is. I mean, and this is really one of the only scenes where we see anything about. Where we see any implication of the type of person that Jay is. I mean, we don't know anything else about her. We don't know why we're caring about her struggle or what's going on.
But yeah, she gets she's mid monologue and she gets Bill Cosby'd.
Yeah, for sure, dude. I mean, a fucking high five chloroform, right to the face.
Dude, the struggle is kind of hard to watch. Like seeing her kind of like struggle, like holding on, and I'm just like, God damn, this is brutal.
Yeah, I love because the shot right before it, she's playing with the flowers, the camera's coming down. As soon as she passes out, the hand drops, the camera starts going back the opposite way. And I fucking love that. But also just, I'm a sucker for this. You've heard me talk about this 1,000 times. Something very close in the foreground and then in the background, something, basically covering this entire kind of range of spectrum or of sight. Because as we're looking at the shot of the door open, which is a fucking incredible shot where she's monologuing, the side of that door is like right there in the front left of our field of vision, and then we see Hugh open up the door like all the way in the back towards the right, and that, like, I love those kind of shots because it feels huge. This whole shot feels huge and wide, and I like it, even though the subject matter is fucking terrifying. But basically, this is.
The next shot is one of my favorite shots.
Oh, dude.
Where she's tied up to the chair, and he's in the background looking for the thing. He's like, fuck, where is it? Where is it? Because he's gonna show her. He's gonna show her that this is real. Like, this is an actual. This thing exists. And not only that, man. Like, the camera is attached to it. It must be attached to the wheelchair,
right? Yeah.
Because like when he drags her off, it follows her, and I love that. I love that kind of filmmaking.
Right, yeah, I think that this movie does a great job of giving you the sense of, like, you feel like you're just dead on looking at that person. Like, we almost feel like the entity sometimes because we're just dead on looking at these people. Yeah,
and you feel a little uncomfortable. Like, usually, so there's this thing in filmmaking called negative space, and often when, like, a character's having a sort of like a conversation with someone, they'd be either on the left or right side of the frame, and if they're like anywhere sort of like in the middle or like just a bit off, the space behind them where there's not really anything to see, that's negative space. And like, you don't really get that often. You get it in Tarantino movies because Tarantino's a fucking artist, right? But like, you don't really get that in movies, and it's a really different sort of way of shooting, and it makes you feel uncomfortable.
Right, yeah, because here's this huge open space. I think we're also conditioned to expecting something to jump from those spaces. You know, when we're watching a horror movie and we see a gap, you know, and all of a sudden the person's like shifted over a little bit. Okay, well, we know something's about to jump out right there. But this is really where Hugh kind of like lays it out for her. I just went ahead and wrote this down because these are some of the only rules that we ever get for this thing. We figure out some things as we go. But what he says is fucking crazy, and it's fucking great. Basically, remember what I'm saying, okay? This thing, it's going to follow you. Somebody gave it to me, and I passed it on to you back in the car. It can look like someone you know or a stranger in a crowd, whatever helps it get close to you. It can look like anyone, but there's only one of it. Sometimes I think it looks like people you love just so it can hurt you. It's slow, but it's not dumb. I'm like, oh, fuck, dude. Like,
that's scary.
See, I liken this thing, the exact opposite of this thing would almost be like the 28 Days Later zombie, where it's dumb, but it's incredibly fast. And I would honestly, I'd rather have the incredibly fast, dumb thing, because at least I can trap it, or I can shoot it, or do something.
And it'll stop eventually.
Right, yeah. This thing is just like, it's kind of liken it to like a Terminator. It just will not stop. Like, it is relentless. Right. It almost feels, the first time I ever felt something like that was seeing Mark Wahlberg in Fear, because there was something towards the end of that movie, if you've ever seen it. I mean, like, if you haven't, fucking go watch it. It's great.
I haven't.
But, dude, his pursuit of Reese Witherspoon in that movie, it's like, dude, he will not stop. Like, he's like a dog, like, sinking his teeth into something. And it's like...
For Reese Witherspoon, though, really? Come on, Mark.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, because it's like early 90s Reese Witherspoon, which, I mean, she's a beautiful woman, but I kind of prefer like early 2000s Reese Witherspoon. I don't know why. But one thing that I love about this is that she wakes up, she's in her bra and her underwear, she's handcuffed to a wheelchair, and he goes, all right, listen, I'm not going to hurt you, okay? It's like, really?
Really? Well, you kind of already have hurt me psychologically, because I will never forget this moment.
Dude, yeah.
Couple of questions about the monster, though.
Mm-hmm.
We can just call it the monster, or whatever the fuck, I don't know.
Yeah.
Number one, why does it choose to sometimes be clothed and sometimes be naked? I don't know. Maybe it's because I mean, like, because look, the naked lady walking towards you is a lot scarier than a naked clothed lady, I think. Because that is fucking horrifying. It's so not sexual. It's just there. Like, it's like everything's out. You can see all of the flaps, all of the titties. Like, I'm just like, this is kind of scaring the shit out of me. Like, what's your take on that?
I don't know. I think that it's just kind of a thing to like switch it up. Because we see later on, you know, it comes out as like a kid. It comes out as like a guy who's like 7 feet tall. It's 7'7". Yeah, that guy's like, it's him and his brother, I think, are like the two world's tallest twins. But yeah,
my favorite scene in the movie, by the way.
Oh, dude, that's fucking creepy as shit. That guy sells that, man. But I don't know. I think that it's just kind of a thing to switch it up, because maybe let's just say a horrible example. Let's just say you're at an orgy and this thing shows up.
Very, very relatable.
Yeah, exactly. Let's say you're at an orgy. Is it going to walk in wearing clothes? I mean, it's not dumb. It knows how to use tools. I mean, it throws bricks through windows and shit like that. That is true. So would this thing, like, whatever it can do to get closer to you? So wouldn't it show up like somebody fully clothed? Like, wouldn't it show up like a normal looking person when it needed to be, and nude when not? Which it still kind of leaves me scratching my head later on for some of the choices that it makes as it's like Avatar, you know. But the fact that you never know exactly what you're in for, but I feel like I would be able to spot this thing in a crowd. Like, there's something off about this motherfucker, dude.
Right, like it's not like a robot where it's trying to achieve sentience. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's if a robot, because, you know, I've still got Westworld in my head. Like, a robot is trying to, you know, mimic you to the best of its ability, to try and like sort of blend in, whereas this is like, this is another entity where it's not really trying to blend in. Like its goal is to get to you and to kill you. It's not really trying to blend in. So I totally agree. Like there is something off about it because it's just so like the Terminator. When Arnie like he stands out in the crowd because not because of his physique, but because his reactions to things aren't natural. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just so otherworldly.
Right, yeah, it seems like an alien trying to fit in with things, and you could spot this person in a crowd. Like, dude, you're not talking to anyone. You're moving sluggish. Yeah. Like,
now my second question: say you bought a plane.
I already read this. I read it
too. I know the director's answer. The director's like, oh, you can board planes, but like, I don't know, man. Like
that does seem like a stretch because I'm like, what does it get a frequent flyer mile? Like, what does it get? Does it get a meal? Like,
like how the fuck does it have a passport?
Right, because the thing basically always has to be walking. So does it just like stand in the plane the whole time? Like, I have more questions now than answers.
By the way, like that led me to another thought. Like, imagine boarding a plane and like figuring out that this thing is on the plane with you.
Oh,
like, if you're flying from fucking LA to Sydney, which is like 15 hours, you're just like constantly doing circles around the plane. But like my kind of like imagining is like if you bought a plane to Sydney from LA, like is this thing gonna walk in the ocean and like eventually reach you?
I like that. That's what I think is way cooler. Is if you just saw this thing walking off of a shore
like
and it just
like Pirates of the Caribbean, like bottom of the fucking sea, like,
right? That kind of shit. That's what I thought. But apparently he said, it is smart. I mean, it can do things that can help it in that way. But I mean,
does it talk? Does it have a voice? Like, how does it get past customs and immigration? Does it have anything to declare? Like,
yeah, right. It's like, oh, okay, cool. It's like some dude in a turban gets brought out for a surprise inspection. He's like, oh, you're not fucking asking that woman. Like, she's naked and she has a hole in her face.
Yeah. What's the purpose of your visit? Oh, I'm just gonna kill the last this person who fucked this guy once.
Yeah, right. Exactly, dude. It's weird. I think that that's what's great is that there's not a lot of not a lot of this is like locked down. One thing that I thought about is like, could you not just, if you can see it, like we see that they're able to put a sheet on it later on. I'm like, can you lock it in a box? Like, can you put it?
That's it.
Like,
right? It's invisible, right? Like it exists. Like it's
right.
Not.
It's physically there. Now, I don't know. I never see anything of it like slipping through walls or like moving through people. I never see anything like that.
Yeah, because it has to physically break into houses and it has to break into doors. Like it's not a ghost. It like, you know what I mean? I totally see your point here. It's a very ineffective monster.
Right. Yeah. It's basically it's ineffective and it has no speed, but its persistence is just like level 9,000. You know, it's like you're never going to stop this thing.
That's the scary part. That's the scary part.
But basically, I'm only showing you this to, that it's not, so you understand this is real, blah, blah, blah. We see the thing coming towards her. Again, great. We're on a flat shot. We have way too much open space. It is making me so fucking nervous. And then from the back of the room, we see this thing walking towards her. It's like, fucking Christ, kill me now, because I can't stand to see this thing staring at me and to keep walking. Like, it's making me sick. But, Hugh gets her the fuck out of there, drops her off at home. Drops her off at home is putting it very nicely. I mean, literally drops her off at home. Just like
fucking on the street.
Right, he could have not been more of an asshole unless he was like Kurtwood Smith in RoboCop, like bitches leave, like they could. But basically, last thing he says, "Don't let it touch you," and just drives off and leaves her there. This is also, this is where Paul and her sister and friends are all running over there to help her. The police show up. She basically, it's no help. Hugh's not even his real name. He's renting a house somewhere in the city under a false name. They can't find him anywhere. One thing I do love is when she's laying in the bed, and we're kind of panning over, we see that sandwich and the chips, and there's that little pill. One thing that's interesting is we don't see it eaten this time, and then about an hour later, we see the same shot, and the pill is gone. and it's like, so she's starting to like, oh, okay, this is getting serious. I need some drugs. Like she like, because it shows us the escalation of things without ever really telling us. Which is, it's something small. I didn't catch it the first 2 times I saw it, and then when I noticed it, I was like, wait, why are they doing that exact same shot again? And then I was like, oh, wait, the pill's missing. So if it's a Valium or if it's a Valium or some type of Xanax or something, I don't really know. But this is a fucking great scene. This is, you know, this is kind of our first real exposure to it outside of everything that's going on with Hugh. And this feels just so Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean, we've got, and this is a staple of 80s horror. We've got the teacher talking about something that's so incredibly related subject, you know, the subject matter is so incredibly related to what's going on with the story. You know, I don't know exactly the poem that she's reading. I'm not going to try to read all of that. I mean, she's going on for like a minute straight, but to say, I am Lazarus, come from the dead. Oh God, dude, like, come back to tell you all, I shall tell you all. I mean, if one setting a pillow by her head, blah, 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 should say, this is not what I meant at all. Like, it's fucking terrifying, the shit that she's saying, you know, I'm Lazarus back from the dead. And literally as she's saying it, we cut to the woman outside. And this, I'm
like, can you just fucking read Cat in the Hat?
Right.
Like, just something fucking cheery.
Right, exactly. Can you read me something that's not just like, like the most ominous thing right now?
Yeah.
But I'm going to play one more sound clip here.
Go for it, dude.
It's just when this music pops up and we see this woman who's just in a hospital gown, basically just kind of charging across the street. I mean, that is a fucking great shot. But this track is also called Old Maid, which is fucking perfect for this thing. But it's called Old Maid, and it is on, again, the It Follows soundtrack. You can find that on Spotify or whatever. But it is a fucking great track. I'm just trying to get everything pulled up here real quick. And here we go. Dude, I mean, that cannot sound more like Halloween and Psycho put together. Like, dude, I mean, and it's effective, and it does kind of have its own unique feeling, but at the same time, that is very, like, that's the first thing I thought of was, you know, Psycho and Halloween. But I love the shot, you know, it's the woman who's coming towards her. She's like, hello? And, you know, you see the 2 other women in the hallway like, hello? Like, they just totally ignore the old maid as she's, like, coming towards her. And these are some other great shots of, we've been super far away, but now we're way too close. And we feel way too close because we've been so far away now. I've just her pulling up, like, right on the fucking face of her as she sees the old maid coming towards her. Like, God, that's fucking terrifying, man. But this is where, you know, also, you know, we see, you know, Jay's friend Paul and her sister Kelly, they start kind of getting involved. You know, this is where we see, you know, Paul's like, I'll stay the night. And they're both like, no. Like, they both immediately no.
I was like, she's like treating him like a rapist. I'm like, this is fucking weird. Like,
yeah,
what is show me your prize, son.
Right, yeah, this guy is, I don't know, man, because, like,
he's weird. I can't deal with him. Like, his fucking sad face. I'm just like, I don't get it.
I think he's, I don't know. I think he's got a lot of immature notions of what a relationship is. Of what, you know, he's got a lot of, like, old school kind of mentality about how men and women act in relationships, and that the woman needs to be protected and blah blah blah. You know, and I get it. You know, I get kind of the same way too. There's a problem. I'm progressive. I want to fix it. I don't want to sit here and just like worry. I want to be proactive. I want to fix this thing.
Right. Let's find a way to move forward.
Right, but also at the same time, like, most of his moving forward seems to be with the motion of his dick. And you know, he's constantly, you know, like every line of his dialogue might as well be him just like doing like air crunches, like yeah. Everything about him. But you know, I love this actor though. I love Gilchrist because he's fucking great in United States of Terror. He's a very different kind of character in that. Well, not incredibly different, but enough very different from this character. But I do like the line. He's like, hey, I'm going to stay the night tonight, and I promise nothing's going to happen to you, okay? And, you kind of see your sister give him a look like, maybe you're not full of shit. I like that. I did like I don't love the way they portray these characters, but at the same time, they're all very good at being subtle. They're all very good at having subtle face emotions and quirks and tics that we can read their expressions. They don't have to just tell us how they feel.
I do agree with that, for sure.
Yeah, this is a great scene too.
Slumber party.
Yeah, right. Are you kidding me? A boy sleeping in your house, dude? My parents would never let a chick come over and stay the night. No fucking way, dude. No fucking way. I don't care how long she's lived in my neighborhood.
Yeah, no, that's the same, actually. That's the same. Yeah.
But I like this. Basically, this is where they're going on about. We see their kind of like their past relationship, really, right? They start talking about,
porno mags.
Yeah, right. Porno mags and the first time that they kissed, and apparently also he's kissed Kelly, her younger sister, as well. I love that. She's like, you kissed two sisters. Yeah. That's pretty gross.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty funny. This kid is basically swinging at anything that he can make contact with. To be completely honest,
American Pie.
Yeah, right, exactly. But I actually really do like this scene. I really like it a lot. The way that they're framed in the shots, because this is one of the few times that if you look as we're cutting left over to Paul and then right over to Jay, he's really far left. Whereas now, like, it's kind of a comforting thing now because we're used to seeing all the stuff that's scary dead center coming right at us. We're flat on it, and we are kind of flat on him here, but at the same time there's this nice amber kind of glow that's going on in the shot. Like
it's warm. Warm.
It's very warm. Like he's off to the left a little bit and she's off to the right, and it's settling my nerves because I'm so used to seeing everything dead on now.
I also like just a quick little shot of her like nestling her feet closer to him.
Yes,
like it's nice. It's nice. This is all kind of like sort of like a false everything's kind of okay before like the kind of shit breaks out here.
Right, yeah, this is before we really start to see like how this can fuck your life up so bad. But I mean, like you said, it's very short-lived because we hear the shattering kind of noise, I guess, which we'll come to find out later is, I guess, kind of the signature break-in of the entity, which you would think that's, it's slow, but it's not dumb. Learn to pick a fucking lock, dude. Like
yeah, like it's not. I think the phrase "it's not dumb" is accurate because he didn't technically say it's smart.
Right, what I mean? Like what would happen? I can't imagine if a cop's driving by and he just sees a brick get lifted up and smashed into a window. $100 says there's a cop that drove by and saw that, and he's like, "Fuck that, dude!" Like throws his joint out the window and just drives off. Like fuck that shit. But I love this. Basically they all kind of get up to investigate.
Yeah, the ratcheting up of the tension here is fantastic.
Dude, it's fucking terrifying. And it's because when the entity kind of confronts her, this looks a lot like the girl from the beginning, Annie. I thought this was at first, and I don't think it is now, but it's very similar looking. And just the fact, I mean, I think she's like pissing on the floor, like she's urinating everywhere. I couldn't tell
fucking Exorcist style.
Dude, exactly, yeah. And there's something so gross. It's like, as I'm watching this, I'm like, oh, she only has one sock on and she's walking through that piss. Like, ugh. Like, whatever. And part of me was going, would I rather be barefoot or would I rather have both socks on? I'm like, oh, it doesn't even matter because she's got the worst of both worlds. Like, she has one sock off and one sock on. I was like, what the fuck?
What are you thinking about?
Dude, I can't. I'm going to tell you this right now. I hate getting wet.
The most menial thing.
I hate getting wet with my clothes on, dude. I fucking hate it.
Yeah,
like, I can't.
I do agree.
Oh, I do agree. Dude, if it's raining.
And as a chubby person, fucking swimming at the beach with your shirt on.
Oh, dude, yeah, you're fucking I mean, we're in this grabbing an oar because we're in the same fucking boat. But this, basically, she's confronted by the entity in the kitchen. Everyone's outside the room. She's got herself locked in. Technically, this could she could live for the rest of her life like this. I mean, it would be awful, you know.
She can.
But I mean, it sucks just knowing it's right outside the door. But I was also thinking, like, sleep in a metal coffin, like sleep in something that you know. I mean, the worst thing is it's just going to be right there when you wake up. I guess.
Or just put yourself in a padded cell.
Right? Yeah, or something. Yeah, exactly. Get yourself the hell away from it.
But this again, my favorite scare of the movie right here, man. Like This is out fucking standing because it's just so like. Number one, you haven't seen the entity assume this person yet, so you don't really. It's so jarring. Like you're like, what is this? Number two, this guy is huge. Like this guy, it's so cool that they have the friend, the girl. I forgot her name. What's the girl? That girl in the doorway.
I think Yara.
I think, Yara. They have Yara. It's so cool that they have her there kind of for scale as well. And just the way he has to fucking bend his head down from the frame to get in, and not even like stopping, like just kind of like moving just from the darkness into the doorway. Oh my God. And the music that plays behind it. Just Jesus Christ. Get me out of there. Get me out of there.
He follows in like he's just part of the crowd. Like he just ducks in like, oh, hey, don't mind me. And it's like, oh, shit, dude, that's fucking... And the fact that all of them are so close and that none of them could see... I mean, that thing literally, if it had... if it had any... Let's say that it killed Jay and Paul was the next one, dude, it would literally just have to turn and you're right there, like within arm's reach of this fucker.
But by the way, we did go past this. If it kills her, it goes back to Hugh. I don't want to. Yeah, like that's part of the rules. And by the way, if those are the rules, then I'm fucked.
Yeah, right.
If you need to get laid to move this thing forward, I'm just like, I'm good.
Right. It's like, because I was thinking about that too. Like, you know, you have sex with a prostitute, the prostitute has sex with someone else, like blah, blah, blah. Like, it seems like a good plan until, you know, if you don't inform the person of what's going on, you're fucked, dude. Like, you're just so fucked. But imagine, let's say that Jay's like the 500th person that this thing has gone through. The first person is still sitting there going like, is it over yet? Is it over? Is it over? Is it ever going to be over?
Psychological torment.
Oh, dude, like just knowing that one day it's probably coming back. Like, fuck that, dude. Like, that is fucking terrifying. But Jay gets the fuck out of there. She Spider-Man's down the side drain, the drain pipe, and hops on a bike and takes off to a playground, which is some super fucking 80s imagery of just kids on bikes and playgrounds in the middle of the night. But this is where they also kind of meet up with Greg. We see, you know, Greg's character taking more of a front seat to things. So, you know, we can't tell mom, you know, blah blah blah. And at first we're like, oh shit, here it comes, and we're like, oh wait, no, this is Greg. You know, what do you think about this guy?
Greg?
Sorry, who?
I don't. Did you say Greg?
Yes, Greg.
I don't. No,
I'm old Greg.
He was kind of a little tough to get a handle on. I still don't know. I'm still trying to gather my thoughts about him. I think he's a good character. Like, he's kind of likable.
He's almost too likable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's almost like, I mean, he does say some douchey shit later on when he's kind of like not believing Jay, you know, because the thing hasn't come for him yet. But at the same time, like, he's kind of too perfect. You know, he's driving, you know, he's just
like, do you think he's kind of like the quintessential 80s sort of horror movie hero?
Kind of, yeah, because he's for one thing, he's extremely confident. He's cool as fuck. I mean, when he walks up, he's just like, "Hey, what's up?" "Okay, cool." She's like, "Are you leaving?" He's like, "No, I gotta get my car." You know, he's just like, "Okay, cool. Now you're part of it, just because, you know, you're there." And I think obviously the character is okay, but I like him at the same time because it draws so much contention between he and Paul, which, I mean, I kind of want to just slap the shit out of Paul at some points, but like, you understand what's going on with this girl, right?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't like, that's an element of the movie that I just could have like been like, hey, I'm good.
Right.
Like, I don't need this.
Right, yeah. It's like I don't know. I guess we need someone just to get killed off. I don't know because
right.
we don't. This whole thing is just kind of odd. I think she says later on that they had sex in high school. I think.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing. I mean, like, I don't really. I don't think the movie's fully talking about. I mean, like, it's an element, but I don't think it's fully talking about innocence lost. Like, because she's already had sex. Like, it's already happened. Like,
yeah, true. Yeah, I mean,
like, it's just an element that it's not really. It's not its primary focus. By the way, are they fucking driving through downtown Detroit? What is this place?
They are. Yeah, this is the whole movie was shot in Michigan for tax purposes, and you can
fuck me.
You can even hear Yara. I think she says something about going down south of 8 Mile, which is 8 Mile, Eminem. Like Detroit.
Well, excuse me from fucking being all the way in Sydney.
Fucker. Sorry, I'm not around all you poor people. Like, I half expected to see them turn a corner, and as they turned the corner, like, there would be the armored truck from RoboCop just going down the street.
Oh,
like,
my God.
Can you fly, Bobby? Like,
holy shit.
By the way, I'm also not getting paid commission by Orion to keep referencing RoboCop in this episode.
But I'm sure Orion can use it.
Right? Oh, fuck yeah, dude! If they're even still around, Jesus.
That's what I'm saying.
But this track, as basically they decide, hey, we've got to go find Hugh. They know where he lives. She's never been inside. It's kind of in a sketchy part of the city. They all pile into Greg's car and take off. This track called Detroit might be my favorite one on the whole album. I'm just gonna play a snippet of this real quick.
Yeah, it's definitely my favorite, man. It's so cool because it adds to the atmosphere so much, man. The soundtrack for this is outstanding.
Oh man, I played a lot more of that than I meant to, but I just got sucked into it. I was like, God, this is so fucking good.
Don't worry about it. No, seriously, it's fucking great, man. Like the soundtrack for this is really unique and a really awesome accomplishment for an indie movie. Like, you'd think it's like done by like Stranger Things. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Kyle Dixon and Michael Stein. Like, at first I was like, okay, cool. These are the guys, because they're actually in a band called Survive. If anybody ever wants to check them out, it's a fucking good band. They're also on Spotify. But it's the band of the guys
who did the I just want to throw this in there. The guy who did the theme song is Luke Million. He's Australian, motherfucker.
Wait, from what? This?
Stranger Things.
Oh, I thought the dude... Wait, you talking about the guys who did the boom, 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 like that?
Yeah, that's Luke Million, isn't it?
No, it's God, what? You fucking asshole. No, it's two guys. As far as I know, it's two guys named Michael Stein and Kyle Dixon, and they're in a band called Survive. And they, as far as I know, they did both first and second season of the soundtrack. I mean, I don't know. I'm just the fucking biggest Stranger Things fan of the goddamn planet.
You are. But I swear to God, I thought it was Luke Million. We'll talk about it off there.
Right. But basically, this is where they go to Paul's, or not Paul's, Jesus. This is where they go to Hugh's place, and they see, I mean, Jesus Christ, man, this place is fucking terrifying. But what I love, if you start paying attention, I mean, he revolved his life around this goddamn thing, man. Like they call them. I read a little bit about this. It's a 4-stop style house. They were popular between the 20s and the 40s, but just the fact, I mean, all the Coke cans and bottles on the windows, just because, I mean, we've seen we see it later on, its primary method is throwing a brick through a window, basically because a door, somebody has to answer it, or the lock has to be picked. Why not just go through a window? It's so much easier. But it's fucking great, just the whole way that this house is set up and just how dilapidated it felt a lot like. Have you ever seen Candyman with Tony Todd, the '90s movie, black guy, hook with a hand?
Bits and pieces.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, that's a lot of what this reminded me of, is the way that this is, this dilapidated kind of feeling.
They're remaking that.
Oh yeah, is it Jordan Peele? I heard Jordan Peele was talking about it. That's
producing.
Cool. That guy's on fire, man. I mean, Get Out,
killing it.
He's talking about doing Gargoyles and then the Twilight Zone, and I was like, dude, this guy is. I mean, I think I can trust this guy now.
Killing it, dude.
Right, but they just kind of search around this house. Man, how fucking, I'm just saying, like, how fucking creepy is Greg staring at Yara's legs while she's up there? Like, he's just like kind of ogling her. I was like, dude, like, I understand the rest of these people are like 19. This girl's probably like 15, 16 years old. Like,
I was like, I'm good.
Yeah, I was like, this guy's creeping me out a little bit. Why the fuck is Paul sitting on that goddamn mattress, dude? Get the fuck off that mattress. What the hell is fucking wrong with you, dude? Like, that is disgusting. You're literally sitting on a bed surrounded by porno mags and crusty old Kleenex cum dumpsters, and you're fucking...
I'm so surprised, like that. Like, when he sat down on that mattress, it didn't like immediately like crack in half. Like, it's just like...
And dude, it's fucking just so gross. It's disgusting looking. But why would you sit there, dude? God damn it. It just perplexes me every time. And both of them, she comes over and like gets down on her knees on the bed, like direct skin contact. I was like, this is grossing me the fuck out.
This is giving me like fucking like some kind of disease just looking at it.
Right. It's like, dude, I need to take a fucking shower.
I do like the comics on the window, but
I do. I fucking like that a lot, actually. I thought that was really interesting. One thing that I did laugh my ass off at is, and I'm not. Before I say this, I'm not PC principal. Okay, I'm not here to fire anybody from the next Guardians of the Galaxy movie or anything. But what's so funny is there's hardly. I mean, I will say this: there's hardly a black person in this movie for miles. You don't see anybody else but like white people, and I noticed that. I mean, just it's just kind of something that God. Any way I say it, I'm going to sound like some woke douchebag.
No, I didn't notice it at all, which is fucking weird.
Honestly, there's like one or two. There's like the girl in the hallway who says hello to her. But what I thought was so funny is, as Jay's looking out the window through that hole, she sees that black guy out in the yard, and she kind of jumps like, and I expect her to just be like, oh, black dude, like her to just be terrified of the fact that it's like, oh,
it's one of them.
Yeah, right. It's like, oh my God. But I fucking laughed my ass off because I was like, is she jumping because he's black? Because I haven't seen a black person within 20 miles of this
That's
movie,
awesome.
dude. But yeah, I do like the fact that they find the picture of Hugh right in the middle of the porno magazine, and basically I think off of like his Letterman jacket they figure out where his high school is. Hey, by the way, you can't really walk into a high school being an adult and demand to go into the library and look at their like yearbooks. It doesn't work that way, dude. Like, trust me.
It's a little weird. Trust you? You tried this?
Trust me, because like I can remember when I was like 19, I went with a friend of mine back to our high school, and we were just like walking around, hanging out, and saying hello to teachers and stuff. And they threw a fit. Fucking fit over it. They're like, dude, you got to have a pass. You got to come up to the office and turn your keys and your driver's license in and blah, blah, blah.
This is when they start sounding the lockdown alarm.
Right, exactly, dude. Like, what the fuck? Especially because I don't think that this is their high school even. I mean, they're just at some random high school, I think. But yeah, this is great. I'm split because I really do like this scene. I like the confrontation with... Yes, I guess we can just stop calling him Hugh and start calling him Jeff. What a weird name to go by, Hugh. Like, who names their kid fucking Hugh?
Jeff.
Yeah. But this is and obviously this is because I wondered. I was like, dude, what is this guy doing that he lives in such squalor like that? I was like, oh, okay, no, this is where Jeff lives. Jeff lives at home with his mom. but yeah, basically, he just, they confront him about it, and he's like, just pass it along, do what I did. It'd be easy for you. You're a girl. Anybody will sleep with you. I was like, damn, dude. Like, it's so funny because
that's why I was like, oh, okay, so I'm gonna die in this situation.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Right. But it's weird because at first, like, we kind of like Hugh/Jeff. We're like, okay, this guy's kind of cool, blah, blah. And this is the first time we've seen him since what? I mean, we're 52 minutes into this movie. We haven't seen him since like the 10-minute mark. And I mean, he is just like bipolar opposite, such a different person. I mean, literally at one point, he's like, look, I'm not safe either. If they get to you, they can get to me. In fact, you guys just need to get the fuck out of here because, like he is so fucking totally different to them. And he could not give a fuck about what's going on with them. It seems like, but basically, he's just telling her to just go straight down the line to whoever started it. Like, Jay, I'm sorry, like, but you have to go and just spread this to somebody because this is not something that we're not trying to stop this thing. Like, it's basically like, it's kind of one of those things where, no, you don't kill me and I don't kill you. We just kind of go our separate ways, which I like that. They also
do you like, sorry, just quickly.
Yeah.
The blades of grass on her legs. So I had a read. The characters are supposed to be like, this kind of plays into kind of like the reason why I don't like them. But the director was talking about how they're going through the standard sort of like teenage bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So the blades of grass is supposed to sort of show and analogize like cutting.
Right. Yeah.
Like self-harm, and the pill before on the lunch tray, I think that's obviously a dependency on drugs and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you do get those sort of subtle little jabs.
Right. Yeah. Totally.
Just thought it was interesting.
Yeah. For sure. I do one thing that I do like about the scene a lot is the fact that it's very weird because we really want to hate Jeff, but at the same time, here we are with our character, and we're eventually going to get to that point where she's just trying to pawn it off and give it to someone because we can't kill it. Like, I kind of, not that I want to see a Jeff movie about how he fights this thing, but something tells me that this guy, I mean, you see where he's living, you see what he's putting himself through. What traps did this guy try? What things have people tried to stop this fucking thing? Like, that's really what I want to see, which is really interesting to me because the possibilities are like, build a big hole and just put a bunch of spikes in it, or something like, what could possibly kill this fucking thing? I think is so interesting. So at the same time, we want to hate him, but can we? I mean, can we really, put that on him for just wanting to continue living for something he didn't really do anything wrong to earn this kind of entity? I mean, what he did is what he does is wrong, trying to get rid of it in that way. But at the same time, who would willingly take that thing on? You're kind of fucked either way, I guess, that you look at it.
And then you're like, you're probably, if you don't get rid of it, you're probably starting like the deaths of like, could be hundreds of people before you. Like this
could be thousands.
This thing feels old as shit. Like same as like a vampire. Like it's just. It's been around for thousands of years, probably since the beginning of time, probably.
Right,
like, you know what I mean?
This thing seems like it has been around for fucking ever. And by not passing it on, do you take kind of responsibility for not doing? I don't know. This is kind of something that we talked about in our last episode with Collateral, where Jamie Foxx is like, if he drags more people into this, he's responsible for the death of those people, just because they're dead by proximity, which I think is just interesting. It's but either way, I say we go ahead and take a break right here. We're getting to the scene where we're all pulling up to Greg's house, and this is going to be a pretty important scene. We're about the halfway mark, so let's refill our drinks, empty our bladders, and we will get back to you guys after the break.
I used to daydream about being old enough to go on dates. I had this image of myself holding hands with a really cute guy, driving along some pretty road. It's never about going anywhere, really. It's having some sort of freedom, I guess.
You awake?
What did you do?
You're not gonna believe me, and I need you to remember what I'm saying. This thing, it's gonna follow you. Somebody gave it to me, and I passed it to you. Wherever you are, it's somewhere walking straight for you. All you can do is pass it along to someone else.
I'm scared. I need to find him.
What did he really do to you?
Apparently, he used a fake name to rent a house in the city.
This isn't real, I swear to you, this is just some game.
If it kills her, it gets me and goes straight down the line to whoever started it.
What exactly is supposed to be following you?
I don't know.
Something happened. It's not what she thinks, okay?
You don't believe me. Mom? No, it's me.
Everything's okay.
It could look like someone you know, or it could be a stranger in a crowd. Whatever helps it get close to you.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. We are freshly refreshed, and we have our bladders freshly refreshed, bladders empty, drinks full, everything ready to go. So basically, we're picking up right kind of where we left off with this scene at Greg's house. You know, everybody kind of decides to to kind of ban up. You know, this is starting to get serious. You know, this is everybody's just gotta basically stay the night kind of in the same area and figure all this shit out, figure out what's going on. But I love, they go and they get Greg's gun. You know, she's practicing with the gun, kind of a bit, reminding me of Natalia Dyer in Stranger Things when they were practicing with the revolver, like that kind of thing.
I'm so glad you said that. Yeah.
But one thing that I love about the scene is if you pay attention, basically, it's just all of them kind of like sitting on the beach after they're practicing with the gun, and they're all just kind of sitting around there. So we see her sister, we see, we see her sister, we see Jay, we see Paul, we see Yara, we see Greg, and then we see what we think is Yara again, like behind us. But there's a great shot where it's on the side profile of Paul, and we just see her enter through the other side of the frame. So we're like, wait, there's one extra person there. What the fuck is going on? Like that's fucking really weird. So if you pay attention, it's like right away, it's like, what the fuck? I mean, even seeing that person walk in the background is what the fuck. But at first, it doesn't really set you off at all.
See, I thought, like, when I first saw this, I kind of like had an idea already. I was like, oh, okay. So, because, like I said, man, with this movie, I'm constantly watching the background.
Right.
Like, I'm never not looking at the background, because, like, I know this movie is really clever. Like, the concept alone is asking you to be aware of the surroundings. And with this scene especially, man, I love how unsettling it is. Like, it's just so, everything's so cool, calm, and collected. Like, this is a great, like, chill out moment. Like, it's the scenery's nice, and as it's just approaching, it's like there's tension, like, but there's no music or anything to tell you that it's tense. I think it's masterful. I absolutely adore the build up to this scene, and I want to be clear: the build up to this scene. I'm not too sure when you're ready to talk about the rest, but yeah.
Well, let's just fucking jump right into it, because basically, it comes up.
I don't dig the rest.
Like the whole it grabbing her by the hair and him hitting it with the chair thing. Really?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I was just like, because this is the first time where you're kind of like, it's just basically an invisible monster. Like, it's basically Toby from Paranormal Activity. Like, and look, I know I just got a little bit deep there, but like, fuck, those movies are terrible. They're not that great. But the entity in this, I think it's the second one, it might even be the third one, where basically there's a kid, and the kid runs across the room, and it's like, like fucking slams into this invisible entity. I don't like that it's invisible. I'd rather it be like an apparition, like something that can appear and disappear. Like, this is the first time that you figure out that it's invisible. I'm not really on board with that. Yeah, what do you think?
I like it. I don't mind it. I think the only thing that, because it does seem weird that if you're not touched by this thing, or if you're not being followed by it or whatever, it can still have some kind of physical contact with you. That strikes me as odd, because like,
right.
I feel like it would be a personal thing. Like, you can't touch me so it's almost like it really only goes out of its way to attack other people when it's being attacked. So I guess to some degree, you have to be able to attack this thing to slow it down or do whatever. But at the same time, like, I get where you're coming from. It kind of seems odd that this thing can physically touch you, even though it has no problem with you. But I guess it makes sense that it's just like, you are in the way of my prime directive. Like move, like just to kind of like part the waters, like, because it's such an unstoppable force that, do I think that it could just be like, no, I'm just not, like, you're like, do I think that lawn chair really did shit to that thing? No. I mean, she shoots it in the fucking neck with a revolver and it gets right back up. So,
but here's another thing that I it's kind of like another problem that I really have. Earlier on, when Hugh says, don't let it touch you, I kind of like figured that to mean, in the Ring, when the monster, like when the I forgot her name, Kayako or whatever it was, if she touches you, you're fucked. Like, one touch, like, you're gone. Like, she doesn't, like, I don't know if she physically, like, makes your face that way with her fucking arms, but, like, if she just touches you, like, one touch, you're fucked. I would have liked that to be this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the idea of, like, an invisible monster kind of, like, taking your legs and breaking each bone. Like, I like, just kind of, like, do you know what I'm kind of getting at?
Kind of,
like,
you don't want it toying with you. Like, you want something that's a little bit more direct. Like, if I've got you here, because I mean, it grabs her by the hair, and it's kind of not fucking with her. But I mean, it could have just grabbed her and just snapped her neck and been done.
Right.
But
and,
like,
yeah, exactly. And like, that's what I'm saying. Like, when Hugh was like, "Don't let it touch you," like, just the thought that all it takes is a touch to kill you. That scared me. And when it kind of grabs her hair, I'm like, oh, it doesn't. It's not really about touch. It's more about it needs to actually physically kill you.
Right, yeah. I don't know. I think I can go either way with it, because it's like, well, it's slow and it's methodical. Like, that makes sense that your death would be slow and like methodical and like drawn out, like that kind of thing. Yep. But I don't know. I'm fine with it, but I can see why somebody would have a problem with it, because it is kind of like, do you really need to do that? Like, do you really need to, like, try and fight all these other people around it? I get it. Like, it's only doing it because it's provoked, but at the same time, that thing probably would just shrugged off that hit with that chair. I was like, fuck it, I don't really care. But yeah, this fucking scene though, regardless of that, when they actually get into the shed and the bottom of the thing is kicked out, and we see Greg first, and then what we see, like, the tall man, and the tall man goes away, and then it comes back as like, dude, that fucking kid, like, holy shit.
Dude, the shot of like the tall man, because the tall man is the entity that scares me the most, I think.
Oh yeah.
Well, the version of the entity that scares me the most, and like, as he like passes that window, I'm like, oh fuck, he's coming.
Oh dude, for sure. Dude, mine is when that kid slipped through, and I'm like, he looks like the little kid in Insidious who's like dancing through the tiptoe through the tulips. It's like, what the fuck? This kid,
Insidious, yeah.
This kid looks so out of place with like the suspenders and stuff. I was like, what the fuck? But yeah, I love that though. She gets the revolver, which I don't know. The fact that we were just introduced to this like a scene ago of her practicing shooting, and boom, we use it right here, and then that's the end of it.
Well, America.
Yeah, right, exactly. But she pops off. I mean, God, misses every shot but the last one, and plugs it, gets right the fuck back up and starts walking towards her. And that's where we see, the tall man and then the little boy, and she runs out. And as she runs out, it's still right behind her. It takes a different form. And what I love is when she takes the station wagon, she's driving off, and we see all of her friends running, and it's still in the background. There it's
still in the background.
Like, Jesus.
Yeah. And like, you can like, that shot, the shot lingers on the car for ages, and you can like still see it like just following her in the background. Like I love that shot. That's an amazing shot of like the car just like leaving. And,
yeah, just the speed of it too, just flying off.
Totally. But she ends up in a cornfield, and she fucks the car up. And like I thought, I don't know. I would have liked to see her knocked out. You know what I mean? Like I would have liked to see her knocked out, not being able to move, and I would have liked to see a situation where she's not physically not being able to move, and this thing's still like coming toward her. Like I would have liked that. Like. Yeah, and I thought we were going to get that in the hospital, but you know,
right? Yeah, it's like a red herring. Like, imagine like waking up from a case of like sleep paralysis, and you're just like, oh my god, and the thing, and you're like, I can't do this right now. This thing is on the way. Like, holy shit. But yeah, she wrecks the car in the cornfield, breaks her arm, wakes up in the hospital. You know, we get those footsteps, and we think it's coming, and you know, boom, false alarm. But that's where she gives Greg the old fuck me eyes, I guess, if we want to call him that. But yeah, you know, this is something that they've established before. You know, that they've had sex in high school. They're familiar with each other. But man, draw a fucking curtain up, dude. Like, I get it. Like, we've got to be able to film this scene, but like, Jesus, you're just kind of right out in the open. Like, anybody can see this shit right now. Like, imagine a nurse coming by and being like, oh God. Like, I couldn't imagine. It's so open. But this is where she passes it on to Greg, and you know that, and they release her from the hospital. You know, and we've also got this thing with Paul, and Paul's heartbroken, you know, because of this thing that's going on. You know, this is where I start to lose it with Paul, because it's like, you know, here you are thinking that this is like the most chivalrous thing you can do, and somebody else starts doing it, and you act like it's such a big deal. It's like, but at the same time, like, I mean, what does it matter? I mean, it's being passed on to someone else. Like, you know, his motivations start to annoy me, because we're supposed to. I feel like we're supposed to like him a lot more than I actually do, because his motivations are very.
That's what I'm saying. I don't really. The characters to me are borderline unlikable.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just this moment actually when Greg and Jay have sex. It's Greg, right?
Yeah, Greg. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when Greg and Jay have sex, I do like the two different sort of her reactions to both. This is to her, she's not into this. Whereas like later when she has sex with fucking hell, what's his name?
Paul?
What's the fucking dead eyes? Yeah, Paul. I was gonna be like the dead eyes. The dead eyes guy's name. Like it's so like starkly different, and I do like that. Like, it's a good choice.
Yeah, and more shots from, like, again, we're way far out than we're coming in. This very, like, voyeur-esque, like, kind of look on things. But, yeah, she gets released from the hospital. We see Greg meeting up with the gang, and, you know, hey, how's she doing? She's not coming out of her room. You know, he's like, nothing's coming after me. You know, basically, it's been, you know, what does he say? It's been, like, 3 days, and nothing's coming. He's like, I can't remember exactly what he says about her. He just says that, kind of starts questioning whether she's made all this up or not. They're like, you know, what do you they even say, like, what do you think? You think she's making all this up? He's like, well, I guess we'll know sooner or later, right? You know, it's like, fuck, man. You know, like, that's like, that kind of start throwing some shade on Greg a little bit, because it's like, you know, I don't know. I understand where he's coming from. You know, it's been 3 days since you've seen this thing. This thing should have definitely been here by now.
See, but I'm also like, there are 3 other people who are telling you that they saw some weird shit. Like the chair broke in midair, like the fucking door didn't break on its own. Like you should be putting a bit more weight on Jay's words, I think.
Right, yeah. Like, I get it. Like, you've thrown your...
Plus, you also got laid. Like, come on.
Yeah. But yeah, this is where we get this this crazy-ass scene of basically, you know, her at home looking out the window, and we see Greg just walking down the street and picking up a brick and throwing it through his window, and we're like, oh, what the fuck? Like, we immediately know what's going on. You know, why is this guy throwing a brick through his own window? But I love the scene. I love the fact that we see Greg and we're not really assuming anything, and then then we like slowly we start to figure out what's going on. We're like, oh fuck, like that's it, fuck, that's it. Jay goes over there to try to warn him. I love the mom pounding on the door, and she just stops, looks over at her, starts pounding right back on the door. Like it's almost like, hey, I'll be with you in a minute. Like, I got to take care of something else, but I'll be right with you. It's like this thing knows that once it kills Greg, it's going to go back to Jay. Like, I like that. I like the look that it gives. Hey, Greg's mom's pretty fucking hot. I'm not going to lie, dude.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that. Oh, boy.
I mean, I know she's got the one tit hanging out and stuff, but still, I mean, she's.
I was like, this is yeah, I'd get in on this fucking monster.
Yeah, right. It's like, yeah, she's pretty hot. And the way that she kills him too, it's like, I know she's not actually fucking him. She's got underwear on and stuff, but at the same time,
it's weird.
Yeah, it's really weird because we don't. Again, this is not something like we don't. Even though we're right there, we don't see the death. Like we don't see what exactly kills him. Like. We just hear like this cracking, gurgling, crunching kind of noise.
But there's like liquid coming out of a vagina. It's weird, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like there is liquid, right? Like it's not like it's strange. It's a strange death. But I don't know how it kills him. I see, but that's another thing. I'd like to know. But I'm also at the same time I'm glad the movie doesn't give that answer.
Yeah, it's really kind of odd, just because we see it kind of like I don't know what's going on. It just like you just hear that it sounds like a wallet being twisted, and then boom, it just cuts back, and there his head is on the ground. It's very unnatural looking, but yeah, that's when Jay's like gets the fuck out of there. Obviously now it's reverted back to her, and she flees out into the woods and just sleeps on the hood of her car. This scene is, I think, one of the most divisive ones that I've read about. A lot of people read the scene a different way. Some say that, because this is where she wakes up, she hears the guys on the boat, she goes out, and, we see her taking her shirt off, and, basically kind of insinuating that she's going to go out there and buy herself some time, and have sex with these guys on this boat and come.
I still don't get this moment.
See, that's what I took away from it. There's been some people who argue the fact that, that she doesn't do it, which I think there's way more evidence leaning towards the fact that she does. I mean, she comes back and she's crying, her hair's wet. So basically, she's, I don't know if she's so much trying, she's not giving this thing off and doing it in a way like Jeff does it. Hey, let me tell you all this. You gotta do this. You gotta do that. I think she's basically biding time because they think they can still beat it. Yeah,
you know what? That's actually a good point. Now that I think about it, because like after this moment, there is kind of like I'm wondering where it is for a while, because like after this she has this moment in her bedroom. I think it's in her bedroom, right? Like she's with Paul. And it's so, like, she's not really worrying. She's just kind of like, she's having this conversation with Paul, but, like, there's no sense of urgency. Like, it's still after me. Like, it's like she knows that it's been passed on.
Right. I think a big indicator, too, is, I mean, not only is she taking off her clothes and getting into the water, when she comes back, her hair is obviously wet. The cast is wet.
Yeah.
Like,
what do you think about the pool, though?
Do what?
What do you think about the pool being broken? What did you take away from that? Because I didn't really get that. Maybe did I miss something?
No, I mean, I saw it and I was just kind of like, oh, but I don't really think there's ever like an explanation for it.
It's weird though. It's obviously been broken by something.
Right. It's like, yeah, were you in the pool and the thing came after you? Like, what the fuck is that? I think it could also just be one of those things where it shows like this thing that was kind of like a sanctuary is now just like falling apart. Like,
right. Yeah.
It's kind of a metaphor for everything that we see going on. But yeah, she gets back to the house. That's where we see the pill taken off the plate, but the food's untouched, which is a great. I mean, it's fucking just that's filmmaking like 101. Seeing that shit, but yeah, this is where Paul basically just is trying to get it spread to him. Which I don't know. Again, I don't want to talk about this too much just because we've talked about this guy forever. It's kind of weird. It's like, do I think his motivations are good? Like, yes, but at the same time, I don't know. He's got too much invested in this personally. It's like it's a little bit different when it's, I think, someone like Greg. Greg could have just minded his own fucking business, and been totally fine and never got his head turned around, but the fact that he gets involved with it, he's already had sex with her. This is not some big, great conquest of his, versus like, we see Paul, not only is this like a physical conquest of his, but more importantly, this is like an emotional like conquest of his. This is kind of like he doesn't just want to have sex with her. Like, he wants to like be with her. He's like, look how useful I am, and look how I'll protect you, and blah, blah, blah. And I think that's great and all, but at the same time, there's just way more important things going on here. Like, just way, way, way more fucking important. And
yeah, that's why I don't really take to his character. I'm like, there's really, do we need to really devote this much screen time to this? I don't know.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, this is where, basically she, or she just refutes him, because he's
fucking denied. It's brutal. I'm just like, oh boy.
Enjoy your one-way ticket to the friend zone, my friend. But
we know the monster can't reach you there.
Right, yeah. But this is kind of cool. I think I do like this. We're revving up to this final act. I like the way that things are getting set up here with basically not only that we're using this pool as like a kind of the setting for our final act, but there's everything about this with water. She's in the pool, and then we see them at the lake, or out on the beach, and then at the girl at the beginning, she's out on a beach. There's a lot of recurring motifs of these things in the water, which I like. That it kind of, at first, the water seems kind of like a sanctuary. Like I said, they're in the pool. They talk about when they're kids and they kissed in that pool when they were younger. The bigger one where we go to set our final act in. But I like that it slowly becomes over time, not even like a safe place, because we see that destroyed in the earlier scene where they're at Greg's, I guess, like kind of like beach house or something like that. I don't really know. Hold on real quick.
Do you,
sorry, what?
Talk to me about this. Do you like this plan?
Sorry. I do like it, but at the same time, because the writer director, he's come out and said before that this is.
I was gonna read the thing.
Oh, go, dude! Be my guest.
Well, I was just like, because I don't like the plan. Like, I'm just gonna outright say it. I think there's like a million other things you could have tried before this. And I think this, it goes south, like, really quickly. Pretty much, like, the monsters, we know that it's not dumb. So why lure it in with a stupid fucking idea that could get yourself killed and electrocuted? Like, I don't know. But in an interview with Vulture magazine, in which he was explaining the reasoning behind the group's seemingly raucous plan to lure the creature leading up to and during the final confrontation, director Robert Mitchell insinuated that they're just kids trying to find a way to defeat the threat in their own way. He explains, quote, "It's the stupidest plan ever. It's a kids' movie plan. It's something that Scooby-Doo and the gang might think of, and that was sort of the point. What would you do if you were confronted by a monster and found yourself trapped within a nightmare? Ultimately, you have to resort to some way of fighting it that's accessible to you in the physical world, and that's not really going to cut it." He goes on to state, "We kind of avoid any kind of traditional setup for that sequence because in more traditional horror films, there might be a clue that would lead them to figure out a way to destroy this monster. I intentionally avoided placing those. Instead, they do their best to accomplish something, and we witness its failure. It's probably a very non-conventional way of approaching the third act confrontation, but we thought it was a fun way to deal with it." And that quote kind of changes it around for me. You know, he's right. This is a dumb way to deal with it, and that's definitely how it took on took to it. Jesus Christ! But yeah, it's stupid, it's dumb, and it does fail. I think you could have tried burning this thing.
Yeah, why are we choosing the absolute heaviest electronics that I've ever seen in my life? Like they might as well have had like a fucking electric oven out there plugged up to like an extension cord. I was like, Jesus Christ, dude. I mean, this thing is throwing like 90s televisions and fucking typewriters at her and shit. Like, dude, you better watch the fuck out. Like, those things are like cannonballs, you know?
Yeah, right.
But
like you could have like, I'm sure you could have got your hands on some gasoline and like set it on fire, like, because fire kills everything. Fire's like electricity, like they're trying to kill it with electricity, which creates fire. But I mean, like, I think there's a more direct approach to it. But like, I mean, like you said, they are kids, and you know, there's a whole thing about water, and yeah, like the explanation kind of worked for me, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, ultimately, it's hilarious because here's our third act, and you know, any atypical movie, we would see this kind of plan succeed, and then that would be the end of it, and we would have, you know, we would have a resolution where we feel like, oh yeah, everything's great now, and then maybe see something at the end that throws us back off of that. But this never gives us that false hope that this is really over. Which is great. We still just don't know. I mean, the thing that I took away from it is, you know, basically as Paul shoots this thing in the head, you know, they're like, is it dead? Is it still alive? You know, blah, blah. And we see the pool just fill up with blood. You know, we're not really sure if it's dead or if it's alive, but we've seen this thing shot, and we saw it shot in the neck, and it just got right back up. So I really don't think this thing is down for the count. Now, maybe, I mean, a gunshot wound straight to the head is a lot different from getting shot in the neck. But still, I mean, is this the first time somebody's tried to shoot this thing with a gun before? I really doubt it. But also, like, who's to say you shoot this thing in the head and it doesn't just morph into somebody else? And it's like, okay, cool. Well, you fucked up that avatar, so I'm just going to take another one and another one and another one. Like, I'm just going to come back every single time. The thing that cracked me up, though, is obviously, you know, this thing fails because there's not enough juice in any of those things to electrify that whole pool. But, you know, it's storming outside. What if the fucking power goes out? Not only has like the power, not only has
like what if it's like what if you trip this the fucking
like flip the breaker, like I laughed my ass off because I was like, I just would have loved to have seen them getting in there, and the fucking entity just walks over and like opens up that gray panel and flips a switch and just turns it off, and they're all in the darkness with it now. I was like, dude, that would have been fucking terrifying if the power had gone out, and then not only your weapons are useless, but now you can't see. Like, oh my god, I would have shit all the bricks and built a shit house out of them, dude. Like, it fucking that idea terrified me, and I was kind of sad that it didn't go that way, because we see, you know, the lights flickering, we see it storming outside. I figured a combination of those things would have like knocked the power out, and now we're blind and our guns don't work, or, you know, our weapons don't work. Like, fuck that. Like, fuck that. But yeah, this is basically, you know, this is our final conflict. We're here. And this is, did you catch what it takes the form of? Did you figure that out?
Yeah, her father.
Right. Okay, cool. Yeah, a lot
because it's on the like there's a photo of him on the mirror, right?
Right, yeah, exactly. A lot of people miss that for some reason. I don't know. I don't know why.
I caught it my first time around because, like, it also makes sense for a horror movie for things to come back like that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and she even makes a point. It's like, what does it look like? She's like, I don't want to tell you, you know. And she's talking to Kelly. Yeah. She's talking to her sister. So we know damn well why. But yeah, this thing starts flopping TVs and fucking typewriters like they're frisbees. But
fucking smart idea. This is a smart idea. Thank you. Well done, guys.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, dude, she gets hit in the head with that fucking TV, and she just immediately starts bleeding. It's like, oh, fuck. But and it's also so terrifying because even though you're in the water and you think, oh, I can just dodge these and stuff, like it's still pretty limited. You're going to be slower. You're in the water. You have limited mobility to dodge this shit. Although I do laugh when it starts throwing like lamps and hair dryers. Like I'm like, come on, dude. Like it's not going to do anything. Again, not dumb, but not smart either. Right. Paul manages to fire off a shot, completely misses, and shoots Yara in the leg. Jackass.
Fucking idiot.
Fucking moron.
I hate this character so much. I'm sorry. I just.
I actually do. I like the. I like the fact that we see. Kind of like how realistic it is with a pistol like that. Like you've got to watch out for what you're shooting because you can shoot through something and hit someone.
It kind of reminded me of I thought it was going to happen at the beach scene earlier when she's firing off shots, and he had to take cover behind Greg had to take cover behind the chair.
Right, yeah, exactly. Like, we've actually talked about, like, getting something for, like, home defense. But, I live in an apartment building. I'm like, dude, if I get a pistol, I'm going to kill, like, 3 people. Like, if that gun goes off. Like, there's probably 25 people who live in my building. Like, I'd rather have, like, a shotgun, or something like that that's not going to cause way less collateral damage. But one thing I fucking love, I love when they throw the sheet on that thing. I was like, oh, okay, that's smart. Like, that's fucking smart. Like, now we know this thing is a physical thing. Like, that's fucking smart. I think that's cool. I like it, but, it kind of heralds back to what you were saying earlier of this thing actually is a physical thing, like out there. Like, so what, do people bump into this thing all day long and they don't know what the fuck is going on? Like,
I don't like the invisibility aspect of it all. I'd rather it be like a specter, like something like a ghost.
Right, yeah, it's kind of like it can walk through walls and do whatever, but it which would also be extremely helpful if you were just like walking towards someone the whole time. Like, oh no, I don't have to go around this building; I can go through this building. Like, okay, fuck, like that's kind of shitty. But either way, I do like it. I like, okay, well, it is a physical thing. I get that. I like the throwing the sheet on it. And, just fucking popping this thing in the head. I like that a lot. But it just kind of leaves it at that. We don't really know if this thing is dead or if it's alive.
I think from the last shot, like, you know that it's not dead, right? Like, I mean, in the last shot of the movie.
Right, which is still, it's kind of ambiguous. Like, it's because
it is.
There's
could be anyone.
Right. There's some things about this that just kind of stumble around a little bit in this third act, and one of my problems is the fact that there's so much blood filling up in this pool. Maybe this thing is dead. Maybe this thing is fatally wounded. That's a lot of fucking blood to be filling up in this pool, and a great image, by the way. It's a beautiful shot.
Yeah, it totally is.
But not only okay, so maybe we did kill it, maybe we didn't. We don't know the fruition of that plan. And the next scene, literally, we see, Jay and Paul having sex. So, like, did it not work? I assume now that it didn't work. Like, we didn't really get an answer there. Like, we didn't really get it figured out. And, like, I assume that it didn't. They never really directly state, but the fact that we cut to the banging, this is... this is just, I guess, an indicator that it didn't work. But they never really outright say that. And that kind of bothered me a little bit. It's just, I was seeing that much blood and seeing this thing, like, okay, maybe it is dead. But
she's also like, kind of like, I guess maybe for her, she's doing this kind of like guilt-free. Like, whereas before she was a bit more guilty.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sorry, with Greg, it was a bit more, like, she felt a bit more guilty.
Right. And at some point too, also, you've got to be like, dude, I got to get some sleep. Like, can you take care of this thing for like a couple of days? And like, I'll take it. It's like they share custody of it like a kid on the weekends. Like, hey, yeah, I'll take it on Tuesdays and Thursdays or whatever.
Yeah. For sure.
But yeah, basically, Jay spreads it on to Paul, and wow, that sounded weird.
Jay spreads the fucking peanut butter onto Paul.
Yeah.
Some weird shit.
Yeah, really fucking weird. But I like this scene. He asks her, "Do you feel different at all?" She says, "No," and she, "Do you feel different?" He's like, "Nope." But this, I mean, I guess this is just kind of where we've been heading, like all along, really. And the movie, I mean, it kind of never. But because we see Paul after they have sex and he gets it, he's driving by the prostitutes and stuff. So, we're automatically assuming that yes, this thing is still alive and that we're passing it on to people or whatever, just trying to get rid of it. So it's kind of left up in the air, I guess, if they ever actually get rid of this thing. I love the fact that Yara's in the hospital with a gunshot wound to the leg, and there's no one held responsible for this. Like, what the fuck?
Like seriously, Paul's just like, I'm just gonna go and fuck Jay. I hope you're all right, Yara. But
yeah, right. He's like,
meanwhile, the cops are fucking banging down the door. We have a gunshot fucking victim.
Yeah, he like
Paul, I'm pretty sure you're responsible.
She's like laying on the floor, bleeding out of her leg. He flicks her a coin. Yeah. He flicks her a coin. He's like, "Hey, you better have that looked at." I'm gonna go bang.
It's like fucking Han Solo blowing away Greedo in the fucking cantina.
Yeah.
He's just like, sorry about the mess.
Right. He's like, okay, cool. Sorry about your leg. I gotta go bang this chick and then bang a couple of prostitutes out in front of an old Ford warehouse.
Oh boy.
But yeah, I mean, that's just kind of we're just kind of wrapping up right there. Really, we see Jay and Paul walking down the street. Again, these great shots, dead on. Everything is in the center of the frame. I think it's really interesting because one thing is with this guy raking the leaves. Like, I was kind of looking for him to look back, and if he looked at the person and maybe noticed them, that it would give you something. But the fact that he never does really kind of drives you insane. It drives me insane.
I kind of like the person like behind them, like just that person that you don't really like. It could be anyone. It could be just like a fucking person walking down the street. But I think that's the point. Like, you don't know.
Right, yeah, exactly. It's like, really, we have absolutely no clue if that's the thing or if it's not.
But I think just the decision to end it there with that shot, I think the director's like, okay, it's still there, it's coming. Like, you know what I mean? It's too much of an obvious shot to end it on.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I'm kind of torn because I'm like, yes, that does just look like the thing kind of looming in the background. And either way, it's kind of like the totem at the end of Inception. We're just kind of led to make our own ending to this, which is a really cool and awesome thing about cinema. But at the same time, I'm like, that doesn't look like one of it. It's like, I was talking about earlier, you can spot that thing in a crowd. And now,
that's true. It looks like it's moving with like, just casually, not with purpose.
Right? Exactly. And the head is down, almost like I almost kind of thought that this was like someone on their cell phone at first, and I was like, okay, I guess this is left somewhat ambiguous. But either way, I don't know. I don't think that that's the thing behind them, because for one, not only has it been, it's been passed on to Paul, and Paul has probably passed it on to someone else now through the prostitutes. But, this could potentially be that. It could have already killed the prostitute or come back or whatever. But with the rate of what the prostitute does, I assume that this thing is probably, like, yeah, this thing could be like 2 or 3 people, like the 6 degrees of separation, like 2 or 3 people away from you now. So you never really know. I don't think that it is. I just think it's a great way to kind of fuck with people at the end of it, and leave people up to their own.
It's a cool horror movie ending.
Right, yeah. It's up to your own interpretation. That's what's great about it. And that's fucking It Follows, man.
That's fucking It Follows, man. The good thing about these podcasts is, like, if I'm not really liking or digging a movie, having a conversation with you kind of like gives me a lot more respect for it, and I dig it now. I still don't love it, but I do like it a lot more than I originally watched it.
No, that's good though, man. That's just kind of that's usually what ends up happening when it's not even. It's kind of weird. It's like, it's not a debate. I'm not trying to win you over, and you're not trying to win me over.
No,
but
it's just a conversation, man.
Right. It's just by osmosis that we kind of end up liking. Like we're just like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I see your point. Blah blah blah. Like, it makes sense.
Exactly. No, you're wrong.
Yeah, right. Fuck you. No, you're wrong. This
jeez.
America, goddammit. But
But yeah, closing thoughts, dude.
I love this movie. I'm going to say like an 8 out of 10. Without the soundtrack, this movie wouldn't be dick. I think that it's great and it's superb. But with, I don't know, I wish I could have just played every single track from the soundtrack on here because it's so great. I like it a lot, and there's some of those things that I just added to a playlist that I listen to. It's like 200 or 300 songs long, so it's just a bunch of songs that I listen to randomly like throughout the day. So I went ahead and added those into like my playlist and stuff. I was like, no,
nice.
this is like part of the everyday listening.
Nice.
But definitely Detroit and Jay, those are fucking great tracks. But 8 out of 10, I like it a lot. I don't know how I'd feel about a sequel. There's been talk of a sequel. Obviously, this thing was like a sleeper hit and just fucking annihilated, what was going on at the time.
I'm not on board with the sequel. I think this is fine, man.
And it's also because I want to see, this is David Robert Mitchell's, I think not his directorial debut, but it's one of the first things that he's done. So
I'd love to see more. Yeah,
right, exactly. Come back to this later, maybe. After you've tapped into a couple ideas. But I don't. There was something I read where a potential idea for a sequel was them going back and seeing where it originated from, and I'm like, no, that is the number one thing that you fuck up with
the
movies
more
like
light
that.
you shed on the monster is the less scary it becomes, and like I'm good, man.
Right. It's kind of like Predator. In Predators we start, or the second Predator, we start explaining a lot of stuff, and we just can't. It takes away from the mystery of it. We don't really want to know exactly where this thing comes from. But I would want to see a sequel only in the sense from this getting passed on to someone else. And then, or maybe even staying with Jay and it coming back to Jay and her trying just different things. Like, okay, we're going to try to, dig a pit or bury this thing in cement, man.
Yeah, I would like to see like a situation of like events or like possible solutions that they go through to kind of get rid of it. Like, it would be, if the movie was longer, I would have loved to see that.
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah, just different kind of scenarios, but that's what I think I would. I really enjoy it a lot. I'm glad that I own it. I'm glad that I just bought it on a whim. But what do you think?
I think this movie's good, man. It's probably about a 7 for me. Just the unlikable characters for me kind of like bring it down. I'm just like I don't know. But the concept alone is worth at least fucking 5 points. Like it is a haunting concept, man. Like it is something that we all relate to. Just the idea of something following us, something making us uncomfortable from day to day, something that's never going to leave us alone unless we do the unthinkable and pass it on to someone else. Like that's scary, man. Like. It's definitely a great concept, and it's executed really well. Like the cinematography of this movie is outstanding. The soundtrack of this movie is outstanding. I wish the dialogue was maybe a little stronger, but again, that might come down to the unlikable characters a little bit. It's a good movie. I do recommend people checking it out. We do have a few comments. If you want to move on to those,
yeah, you go right ahead.
Yeah, so let's start off with a negative. A friend of the show, she's a friend of mine, Liana Fallon. This movie is awful. If you want a good horror movie that strays from the norm that actually has a decent storyline, check out As Above, So Below. Solid film. So awful. Thanks, Liana.
Yeah, and she's so nice. She's always like liking and commenting on stuff. She's really cool.
I know. I love it. She's great.
I love it. It's like, okay, this is my pick. This movie sucks. All right, good night.
It's good. Yeah, this movie sucks. Here's a movie you should watch.
Well, and I like it too because not only that's kind of one of the first people that I've heard not like this movie, and it's great. I would like to actually sit down and be like, what is it that specifically that you don't like about this movie? Not to argue about it or anything, but just because you hear such a different opinion of it. And I've heard a couple of people who are like, yeah, this movie sucks, blah blah blah, but I'm very curious and I'd like to like pick somebody's brain apart. Like, I can see the cracks in it, but like it's not enough for me to say this movie is like awful. So I'd be curious to see exactly what it is.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, man. Let's move on to a positive. Adam Talbot, in response to Liana's comment, I disagree. I think this movie is amazing. One word, tension.
Excellent.
Awesome, man.
Short but brief and beautiful. Also, I've got one from a buddy of mine named Seth Trueblood here. Thanks for commenting, Seth. He actually said, I actually just watched this for the 5th time tonight, or early morning, or whatever. I find this one of my favorite movies. The tension is palpable, and the music score is very unique. It is what makes the tension almost nearly press down on your chest in anticipation of what's next. Like the large dude scene in the hallway.
Fucking awesome, man. Like, I totally agree with that, man. Like, the fucking dude in the hallway. Jesus Christ. One from Jackie Knight. Fucking fellow Australian. Love you, Jackie.
Yeah, I was leaving that. I was like, he's going to want to say this one. I'm going to leave it to him.
Took me ages to get around to watching this film. Probably because the conflict around it was down low. That's true. It's all about down low shagging, fucking sex. But it was a great horror film. Scared the bejesus out of me. I'd put it in my top 10 horror movies I've ever seen. It's a big call, Jackie.
Hot takes.
I know. We've got a couple more. You probably don't have these up. This one's on Instagram. Just a quick one. This one's from... God, I'm going to butcher this. Denny Stark.
Mm-hmm.
This movie creeped me the hell out. Such a simple concept, but it rattled me for days. One from good friend of the show, Craig Dealey. Craig Deals. British as shit. This is so British because it's like straight to the point. I'm not necessarily a big horror fan, but I have to say, It Follows wasn't bad. sitting that fence.
Yeah,
sitting
right.
on that fence.
Yeah, right. It's just kind of just so polite about it. Meh.
Yeah, and lastly, Maria Triana Kirby. I enjoyed It Follows. Love you, Maria. But yeah, that's fucking it. That's It Follows. That's 1/4 of Midnight Spooky Feature done.
Yeah, right. I still laugh. I don't know how I feel about Midnight Spooky Feature, but whatever.
No, neither do I. But you know what? It's already out there. Thanks, Matt. This is Matt's idea.
And it's silly and it's kind of funny. It's like it's kind of how I feel about Halloween. I love just like I would leave my Halloween shit up like all year round. Just spooky shit in general, stuff like that. I'm such a sucker for. But yeah, like Zoheb said, next week we're going to be covering Get Out. I haven't seen it yet. Yes, I know what like 90% of it is about. But it's actually one of the movies that has been ruined for me the least that's come out recently that I heard so much about.
Wow.
Even though I know it's crazy. That's kind of why I don't see a whole lot of new movies, man. A lot of people I hear the concept and I just kind of go, meh. And I heard the concept of Get Out and I'm like, I'm like, okay, I can get behind that. Like, that sounds kind of cool. I like that. But yeah, I'm super excited and looking forward to covering that also because I think it's on Amazon Prime and I don't have to fucking rent it to watch it. So that's nice. That also determines like 90% of the movies that we pick. No, I'm just kidding. We're just like, is it on Netflix? Fuck it, we're not doing it. A funny story actually before we get off here. I go and I rent these movies, because I don't have all these movies at my disposal. So I go and I rent this, a peek behind the curtain of the almighty powerful Oz that is Midnight Double Feature. I rent these movies, we watch them as we're going on. I rent It Follows. Oh, it's on fucking Netflix. I'm like, God damn it, dude. Like, fuck. I always do that. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've rented a movie to watch it for the show and it's fucking on Netflix or Hulu. And I'm like, dude, I gotta stop doing that because we have like Comcast On Demand, Hulu, Netflix, and Amazon Prime. Like, somewhere this fucker is streaming. I've got to start looking this shit up, dude. But yeah, you got anything else you want to say before we jump off here, Zohab?
Not really, dude. This was fun. This was a great pick. Thanks for making me watch it again.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. We kind of talked about it at the top, but you guys want to find us, Facebook, Midnight Double Feature, Instagram at Midnight Double Feature. We're on Twitter at MDF Pod. We're also on YouTube. Rate and review us on iTunes. You can also find us on Libsyn, and we will catch you guys later. Cue that outro music.